Welcome everybody. We're doing another tank talk today. It's been a little while since Firelands. I think our last one was probably October. We did one, but this
Yeah.
time we're talking Dragon Soul. And
Yeah.
joined today, as always, by my boy Riani. How are we doing today, Riani? You were getting your tea ready, making sure you're ready to go for a nice long little chat here.
Yeah, we're doing good. We're doing good. We have been we've been starting our day at around 9 a.m. Writing guides for Wowhead, and then we hopped right in. We got delivery on the food, and then we hopped right into raid tonight. And then I hopped off 2 minutes before the tank talk to hop into this call right here. So
Ooh,
we're looking at a casual little 14, 15 hour day here of just talking and playing and writing World of Warcraft. That's what we
jeez.
like to see.
Yeah, I mean, those days are fun once in a while, but man, it's a grind
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah, yeah.
What food did we get delivered?
I was very naughty and went with some McDonald's. Just
Oh, okay.
felt like some good gamer grub.
Yeah. Do you guys have any like cool Sweden McDonald things that we don't have over
y-
here?
we do have a few things. But it's mostly the artisanal menu that we tend to have our own little spin
Oh,
on things.
sorry, McDonald's artisanal menu?
Of
I
course,
haven't
it's
been to McDonald's in a bit. Like, is this a thing like everywhere now, or that's like a Sweden thing? They have an artisanal menu.
yeah. Well, we've been doing it for very long, but there have been places in the States that have started doing it lately. They were trying to do like fancy McDonald's like back in the days. Um, but um, but yeah, nowadays it didn't work out too well. But I think people want some little fancy McDonald's. I
All
can't blame them.
right.
Can't blame them.
Okay.
People shaking their head in the chat. Well, it is what it is.
Hell yeah. All
Yeah,
right. I mean, let's hop right into it. I think the best
that's it.
place to start is probably just gear, like the kind of gear you're gonna want, to have
Mm,
ready going into Dragon Soul. I think that's probably the
mm-hmm.
best starting point.
Yep.
Watched your video yesterday, day before. I don't know. All these days are blending together. I've been sick the last week. My mind is just crazy right now.
Yep.
But what's yours? I was actually building my own live on stream, like, and then somebody's like, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
did you see Rihanna's?" And I was like, "Oh shit, Rihanna has one." Okay, so I was
Nope.
like checking it back and forth, like as I was going through it. I think the only like two things we really like had any disagreement on was like belt
Like
and
belt and
I think it
trinket.
was it boots
Probably.
or
It's belt and
there
trinket, if
were
I'm
there
not
were like
mistaken.
two items I think, but so for me, I was going for expertise soft cap. You had said in your like breakdown of what your stat prio was for each type of set. You were putting
Mm.
expertise after I think avoidance, was it?
I mean, that was from a purely defensive
Yeah, yeah.
perspective, but
Sure,
I'm
sure.
I'm I'm personally going for expertise cap myself,
Okay.
like
Yeah,
soft
yeah.
cap. Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, yeah. That's what I'm doing as well.
yeah,
Um, so just in general, like the set I've found to be really great and like for general prog and Dragon Soul was like
yeah.
melee hit cap, expertise soft cap, around 130% mastery, like 7.5 rune regen. I don't know if you've been running something similar to that, maybe more
Yep.
mass, maybe less.
Something similar. I have a different, slightly different goals I'm trying to um, complete. So I have a lot of different gear sets. Um, but for like general main tanking, I think that's kind of the play. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So we're on the same page there. I'll have links to both of uh, our week one sets in the description, so you can
Yeah.
check those out. It's really like two pieces different though. So
I
whichever.
did. Yeah, I did watch your VOD. I saw someone mention that you looked at it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna see what he said about my list, and It was the belt and the trinket where we had some disagreements.
Is trinket. Oh yeah, yeah. You were saying I think the Stam dodge proc one, right?
I was saying
Yeah.
that was a good option for a lot of fights. Yes, I do stand by that, but there are some fights where I think it has very like reduced value. But by and large, I think it's a pretty solid trinket.
It isn't bad. I
Soul
mean, I
Shifter,
broke it down like on stream, and it ends up being like
yeah,
on average 2% like passive
yeah.
dodge, which isn't bad when you already have that bulk stam on there.
Yeah. The only problem with Soul Drinker is that it proc or Soul Shifter is that it procs the beginning of the fight
The cooldown's
every
kind of
single
rough.
time. And like
So
when you go to Madness and whatever else, it's like such low value on those fights.
yeah, so Soul Shifter in general is definitely a trinket you want to like unequip and re-equip
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
a favorable like proc time.
Yeah.
So like a fight like Zon'ozz, for example, I think it's around maybe 50, 40, 50 seconds in, you start taking like a lot of damage. So on a
Yeah.
fight like that, you'd want to enter the fight with it having a remaining cooldown of like 40 seconds, something like that. So you should proc it pretty quickly when it comes off cooldown. Then you have that huge mast for that actual heavy damage part.
Yeah.
But like at the same time, that is a little bit of upkeep you have to do. So like maybe that's not something you want to have to do, is like think about unequipping and re-equipping a trinket before every single pull when you're progging. So something to keep in mind.
Both when progging or like if you're in a, obviously a racing environment, you can't really play around too much with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So
but yeah, the belt. The reason why the belt is in there is because it's actually higher stamina because of the socket bonus, right? And it's mass haste. I honestly think that
let me
it could
just
go
pull it
like
up.
completely either way. Like it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
For chance of death, they're like exactly equivalent almost. But I know that so many people have not been able to get their Shannox belt because of like, greedy warriors and whatever else. So that is the main reason why I wanted to include it as well.
I think you said because of socket bonus. You just meant because of the extra socket, right?
Extra socket, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you're gaining what 45 stam with the extra socket bonus, because the other one, well, it depends if you're going the blue or the yellow. In this one, I would typically go the yellow. So it'd be like 45 stam, 20 haste, or 20 mass, whichever you want to do there.
Yeah.
And
it did lose out on quite a bit of secondary stats.
Yeah, the secondary loss was too big, I felt like, to like justify the stam. But
did you see the 40 strength though?
That's it right there, dude. Yeah, but like Reality said, this is the kind of choice. It's very unlikely the choice you make on this will have any impact on anything for you. Like, since we're talking to so many people, surely it will have an impact on like one of them, but just numbers game. But like, I mean, I favor the uncrushable. Real favors the rune scraven. Pick what you like. It's not a big deal. Okay. So I think that was kind of that was like all the differences we really had. You can decide on what you want to do for the stam thing, or the trinket thing. I also actually really like that dodge on use trinket from tier 11. It gives you something like 9% dodge over 20 seconds. I don't think it's bad, especially when you combo it with Bone Shield, because any avoid you get during a Bone Shield just keeps that charge for you and extends your Bone Shield duration. So I've kind of come around on that Valve of Stolen Memories 372 one, obviously. I'm a decent fan of this one. I think it's actually pretty good, especially when
quite good on a fight like Blackhorn, where there is obviously heavy physical damage, but also you can dodge the application of the Thunder Armor, right?
Yeah. Not only the application, but I mean the damage itself. That the Devastate actually does pretty big damage on its own, and like
that one shot portion, that you can parry. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, avoids are just insane value on something like Blackhorn.
Yeah.
This is one I wouldn't sleep on. I actually switched to this on second PTR, I think, and use it for any of the like tankier bosses. I started using this one, and I really like that. I mean, it's avoidance, so at the end of the day, it's gonna be RNG if it helps you or not. But when you're talking
Yeah.
about prog pulls and some of these bosses, you're probably doing lots and lots of pulls on. In the long run, it is gonna help you out. I think something like this. But then you also have the dodge trinket that has a little bit less control. But this is the one Riani had talked about, the Veil of Lies, in his video. You get more stam on it. You get a dodge proc, which it is like fairly reliable just because it's a high proc chance, low ICD, high duration. But it is still a proc, so like maybe it's not up at the time you need it, maybe it is. But
Yeah.
as far as proc trinkets go, this is pretty much as like reliable as it gets.
Indeed. Indeed.
And then four piece tank set. I think we're both kind of in agreement. This is a no brainer for prog.
For Prague, yeah. One thing I want to note here as well is that a lot of people see that and they're like, okay, well, 7.5% health on the raid, that's kind of nice. Well, it's not 7.5% on the raid. It's 7.5% of your health on the raid. So if you have a health pool of 250,000 almost, 300,000 on madness, then you're giving the raid a much, much greater value than just 7.5% of their health. It ends up being more like 10 to 12%. So it is like
Okay.
a mini rally.
I
And then of
actually
course
didn't
it
know that.
scales.
That's huge.
Yeah. It does scale as well of like its snapshots, right? So if you pop if you have rally, if you pop, like I was playing around with the PvP trinket that gives you health, right? 25k health on a 2 minute on use. That and rally and everything like that scales to make that portion a lot bigger for the raid.
Wow. Yeah, that's good comps. Uh
Good
yeah.
comms.
Um even like looking at it as the 7.5% that I had thought it was,
Right.
like it was insane. Like you also get the extra healing too, but during prog, a lot of these fights there's like soak mechanics, like things like
Mm.
Ultraxion and Zon'ozz, things like that. And
Yeah.
the raid as a whole is just taking tons of damage. And the amount of times I looked in the death log and saw just small overkills on people in our raid, it like
Yeah.
countless times. So like when I saw that 7.5%, I was already like, this is insane. Like this
Mm.
turns so many of those deaths into lives. And I mean the fact that you get even more HP, like I mean, is too good to pass up for prog for sure.
Yeah, indeed. Unfortunately, on some level, because you do want to pump a little bit, right?
We
But it is
do.
what it is. Sometimes you have to take the L to get the W.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that is the a good thing to mention too. When you're going for this four piece, it very much is a like personal DPS loss to benefit your raid, which I
Yeah.
mean I'm gonna say you should just do that for sure. Like obviously everybody has different goals. Maybe it's not worth it to you to put your raid in a better position to kill a boss if you're gonna have a bad parse at the end. But I would say
Yeah.
for sure you just do it. Um,
Yeah. We'll
and
we'll as we start going through the fights here today, I was thinking that we would also mention good places to use your vamp blood because bosses like Madness, bosses like Spine, are gonna have very, very natural points where you want to use vamp blood anyway, but the raid also benefits a ton from it. And then it lines up really, really nicely as you progress through the fight. So we'll get into that for sure.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, as we go through each boss, there are definitely some where you're gonna want a little bit different set than this too, and we'll talk about that when we get there. For Valor, we should mention, like, I mean, as you said in your video, just take whatever the best upgrade is for you. But for most people, that is going to be the cloak. Because last tier, we had
Yeah.
a 378 cloak as our base. This is a 19 eye level upgrade for everyone. So I can't really see too many situations where you don't just take the Dream Crusher drape first. 1250 Valor, get that week 1. And then you also have enough Valor the next week to get the unused Strength Trinket for Spine, if that's something you feel like you need. It's,
I'm not too sold on that,
oh,
honestly,
really?
because our damage is so crap on the tendon because of Blizzard's spaghetti code. Your dancing broom weapon does not actually hit the tendon.
Yeah.
But it is definitely still a DPS gain. Can't take that away from you. But yeah, it does suck that the dancing weapon does not hit the tendon.
Yeah, I've just been throwing it on the Amalg. Obviously, it has huge value there still because there are points like you
Yeah.
really, I mean, basically the entire fight, at least for us, based on our damage, the
Mhm.
first Amalg, you had to like slow your DPS a little bit. And then after that, it's basically you just go full speed ahead on all the Amalgs after that.
Yeah.
And it kind of works out. So the rune weapons are huge value on those, like, well, normal value, but you are against kind of a timer you're trying to get to where you want to get the tendon open versus the grip timer, so
Mhm.
that doesn't negatively impact your raid during the tendon opening. But yeah, just you can do like pretty good damage on that fight regardless. And just having that extra attack power that isn't affected by vengeance for the times that you don't have like an Amalg actually attacking you. At least how we were doing
Yeah.
it. Like, the Amalg dies, your vengeance is like starting to decay. You pick up the
Mhm.
other one like partway through the tendon, but you're gonna lose a little bit of attack power. So
Yeah, we actually, I'm a prot warrior on spine. So I
nice.
pick up the Alclamation, and our Bloody K will have 1 or 2 bloods hitting him in the back, for 2
Okay.
reasons. One, to keep up that vengeance from the get go and
Hmm.
have it all the way, but also two, to give vigilance procs, so I can keep taunting
Yeah,
off the
yeah.
bloods that come in and the amalgamations and whatever else.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll talk more about that too when we get to spine.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's as far as talents, I guess we can look at those really quick. I don't know why this is
Just
like
one thing to keep in
so
mind as
zoomed
well
in.
with Valor
Mhm.
is, week 1, if you don't want to spend the gold on bracers, they're BOE. You can buy them on the auction house, or you can run them on get the Valor on second character, send them over.
Yep.
Week 2, you have insane boots for 1650. You can get those from the auction house, or you can get the second character and send them over. Really, really good boots.
Do you remember the name of the boots? I can't remember them right now.
Um, no,
Called out.
no.
Yeah.
I'm always bad with names.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Anyway, there's boots you could get.
They're exactly the same status as the Arachnoflame boots,
Mhm.
but they are with 1 extra socket and just more stats.
Yeah, they're just
Yeah.
better Arachnoflame
Yep.
direct upgrade.
Yep.
Okay. So as far as talents, just general prog talents, I am actually switching specs on like
Mhm.
Ultraxion and Spine, but as far as like general talents, um, is this kind of what you're going for as your general talent set, or would you change anything?
No, I think that's good. I've personally been playing with 1 less point in will, and have that point in block blades, but
Okay.
it's probably this is probably better. this this might be what I actually run. But I have some fights where I don't have time to swap specs. and where I do want to have ideally 3 out of 3 in Blood Cakes Blade. So we'll see what I actually run. But yeah, pretty much
All
identical.
right. And then let's see. I guess we should talk quickly about Vamp Blood Glyph, because a lot of people are asking, like, should you use Vamp Blood Glyph with the tier bonus and everything? I don't think you should for prog for sure, because the extra HP is so important. Like I said, all those overkills I was talking about where, like, on soaks, people died by like a few thousand damage. Like, giving them that extra HP is going to be bigger than giving them increased healing received. And then for yourself personally, you also just benefit a lot from having that increased HP for a lot of these fights. There's a lot of bosses you're going to be fighting that can like do insane damage to you. And having the extra HP from Vamp Blood is the difference between them killing you and not killing you frequently. Things like Zon'ozz, things like Blackhorn. So I think like Vamp Blood Glyph you could use later on down the line if you're like doing fewer healers and everybody has way more HP from having all the gear. You could do it at that point, but for now, no Vamp Blood Glyph. I would say on any fight, there could be one I'm not like thinking of, but I don't think you use Vamp Blood Glyph on anything.
Yeah. And if anyone was out there thinking, well, what if we have 2 DKs and we want to stack the Vamp Blood effect? So I have the Glyph one and he does, and then we use them at the same time, and then we get to combine the two. No. Even if you have the Glyph, if you use your Vamp Blood and your second tank uses Vamp Blood, at any point after, it will just completely override your Vamp Blood, both the raid wide and your own buff.
Whoa.
So
Okay.
if you Vamp Blood like that, you will override the other person's like full Vamp Blood, which is kind of grief.
Yeah, that is a little troll. We're gonna have to set up a Kaze Vamp Blood WeakAuras reminder or something.
Time to add that to your raid trackers for sure.
All right. I think we're pretty square on gear and spec and everything. Ready to just hop into the bosses?
Yeah, I think let's do it.
All right. So I pulled up. Let me switch over to the Twitch one. All right. So I pulled up a 25-man kill from all of my raids, and then I saw you had 10-man, which I didn't get to do at all. So it'll be really interesting to hear the differences between the two.
Certainly.
But I pulled up a 10-man kill from yours, and then your spine and madness weren't public, so I've got a spine from me, and then we're actually gonna watch the OG Paragon Madness, and you can walk us through that because
with audio on, of course, too.
Of course, I'm sure there's like Sandstorm in there or something, but I did 7 out of 8 heroic pretty extensively over these 3 PTRs, but I did not get to look at Madness at all, so that one's gonna be like all on you.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, so first one's Morchok. So first off, you're gonna fight just Morchok like as a single guy. Oh, I gotta mute this too. You're gonna fight Morchok as a single guy, then he's gonna split, and then you're gonna have one tank on one of them, one tank on the other. People were saying this one hits harder. I didn't have time to look at logs to confirm that, but it seemed from looking at details that was true. Is that
it doesn't hit harder, but you have to deal with the mechanics more.
He slams more or something? Yeah. Okay.
He uses his stomp more, both because you have it in the beginning, like you have to stomp, like the first stomp is, and you get the first and the second stomp, pretty much, and then it will hit slightly harder, but it doesn't hit harder in terms of like raw numerical values.
And the slam, when it happens, the closest person to the tank of that ad will take a double damage hit from the slam.
Yep.
The tank will as well, but the other prison's like who you're kind of more concerned about because they maybe don't have the HP to generally live that. It will be physical damage, so people with higher armor will take less damage. At the start too, as I was moving him into position, because we wanted to move him a little bit off the road, there was a warrior closer than the rogue that was supposed to be soaking it. So keep in mind when you're moving it, like when you're going off to the angle like that, be careful of like who's over there and like tell them to move if they're there.
Yep.
They shouldn't be, but yeah, but like good ways to deal with it are we found Hunter was pretty good for it. We had on a lot of our pulls, we just had a Hunter behind the tank, and they lost like one GCD occasionally, and that was about it. And they were just kind of chilling there, not taking too much damage, and that worked pretty well. Rogue's obviously amazing. They can feint.
Yeah. Well, I think it'll be best bet for most people.
Yeah. There may not be a whole lot of rogues though in your raid, so we'll see what happens. But if you have 2 rogues, these are kind of the ideal people to be doing it. So they just gotta make sure they are the closest person to you as the tank.
Yeah, and on 10 man, you don't have to be too precious about it. You can like we literally had a warrior that was like going into berserker stance and shit like that. That worked. But in hindsight, probably should have had the holy paladin do it instead.
Yeah,
he actually wears a shield.
I like that.
He can use unglyph divine protection, yeah, etc. etc.
Does divine protection work for it? Or oh, you said unglyphed. Okay, I thought you said glyphed. So were you guys moving at all? Because I really was just like standing still the entire fight.
No, on 25 man we don't move. The only time we move is when we stack the bosses, which we do before and after the intermission.
Okay. And keep in mind, you are taking 100% increased physical damage every time that stomp happens. So for 10 seconds, you will be taking a lot of damage. So just be ready. I mean, Death Strike is going to give you a big heal, a big shield from those hits. So that's oftentimes kind of all you need. But going into those with like Bone Shield, going in with Vamp Blood, being ready at the end to use like Icebound Fortitude, stuff like that. Just be aware that those 10-second windows are where you're going to be taking all your damage.
Yeah.
And then this part here, it puts like a stacking nature damage increase debuff on you, but you can add like 4 stacks at just AMS, and then it causes them to fall off, and you can just stay there DPSing the entire time.
Yeah, this is what I do as well if we're separating, but since we stack them, you do get double application from the blood.
Oh, okay.
So you can't stay in when you stack them.
Gotcha. Yeah, we haven't done that.
Yeah. One thing to keep in mind is that like after you run in, if you stack them, it's a good idea to use your AMS and running a little bit early, or to nitro boots in, because you want to keep them as stacked as possible during that time, so you can just start blasting right away once everyone gets in.
Gotcha. So at the end here, there's like a little enrage. You're gonna be taking a lot more damage here. This is the time frame you're generally going to use your wall at the end. This pull, I was pretty healthy like the entire time. I really kind of just threw it at the end just to throw it.
Might as well, type of thing.
Yeah.
You'll generally have 2 or 3 stomps go off during this time. So one PS, 1 wall, and then that's usually all she wrote.
And then we found out also he can't die during like this part, or actually,
really?
So This is what I wasn't sure about. So I thought they had
You,
shared health, but like this
yeah,
other one's still alive over here. So I think that's why it didn't die, was because that one still had like 1%.
it's actually kind of the other way around. It's where Morchok can like he needs to be dead, um, and then the other one can be alive. But if the other one is at 0 or 1 HP, it can't die. Because Morchok, the main guy needs to be the one that actually dies. There's a
Well,
bit of a desync in
that
the
was
in the
Morchok there
timing.
though. Good, like Morchok's
Yeah,
the
but I
one
think
I'm
that I
tanking.
think that was because of the
It
intermission.
was because of the intermission. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't just like kind of suicide in at the end with the whole raid if the boss is like low, because they probably won't die. And
Yeah.
maybe all of you will.
Yeah. I will say one thing to keep in mind is on 10 man, you likely don't have the ray comp to have 3 ranged on each side soaking. So what we do is we take um the tank and the melee, and whoever can come over to help soak actually take care of it. You see here our warrior almost dies just soaking the storm, but not the ideal soaker, but it is what it is. So as you can see, we were running over here to the Morchok one. Kind of a bad movement from me there, because our warrior is it needs to keep up with all my frantic movements during the stomps here, so you don't accidentally spread it to someone else. But yeah, this is how we deal with it on 10 man with the comp that we
Okay.
had. Honestly, looking at the comp now, we could have just had the range soak it, but I guess a holy paladin wants to be in melee to use auto attacks and whatnot.
How
But
many soakers did you say was comfortable for 10 men?
yeah, 3. That's
3?
what you need for the
Okay.
crystal. Yeah. And then you see me doing the same thing here that you did on Tama as well, just standing in and
Yeah.
missing at 4.
Yeah, and this damage taken debuff you get, it doesn't actually matter at all after the phase ends. You aren't taking any
No.
nature damage after.
Mhm.
Is the crystal nature damage, like if you were for some reason like taking, I don't know
Shadow.
if you even can. Okay, yeah, shadow.
Yeah,
But
I'm currently writing the Wowhead guides for the raid guides.
oh,
So
nice.
so I have to stare at all that information
Yeah,
all day every day. So
you're the guy to ask.
yeah. Also, like this raid night that we had right here was like we didn't have anyone that was like comfortable raid leading or anything like that. So we're just doing it, kind of going and without a raid leader, and just kind of figuring things out. Uh,
Yeah.
and then the day after, we actually had our raid leader to hold us by the hand, and then it went a lot better.
Yeah, people don't understand how important it is to have a good raid leader. Like,
Yeah,
if
it
you have
is.
a good raid leader can take like a mediocre group like through everything, no problem. Like, as long as you're able to like you have good strats, you're able to explain them easily, have markers like figured out and everything, make good calls, like you can make up for so many inadequacies in your raiders. It's actually like pretty incredible, like what you can accomplish if you have a good raid leader. That's not something
True.
I've ever been good at, though, unfortunately.
No.
So I always treat my good raid leaders very well because I want them to stick around.
Yeah, that's been my thing in retail, was that I was always such a vocal and um like theory crafty type of guy that the role of a raid leader has just been thrusted upon me, even though I do not want it. I'm
Yeah,
not good at raid leading. Like, what are you guys doing? And so now I've made a solemn vow never to accept any raid leading responsibilities. I will just be, doing my thing and helping out
you
wherever
gotta
I
stay
can, but I will
strong.
not be the main guy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I try to do as much as I can to help out, but like I do not want to be a guild leader, raid leader, or anything like that again, for
Yeah.
sure. Um, Before we go into the next one, Fugly had a question. What's the thought of best OT going into Dragon Soul? You want
Mhm.
to take that first?
Yeah, I'm not totally sold on that just yet. I think it depends on your um on if you're talking on 25 man. On 25 man, I am actually kind of feeling that double bloody K is in a very good spot. It will be very good for madness. It will be very good for Ultraxion. It'll be, I think, similar to Druid on Warhorn. Like Warhorn's, their Druid's actually pretty good at, as a tank as it is. Um, and then you could make a case for, Hagara, you only need one tank, right? Um, so if your druid is better at feral catting than your DK is at unholying, then then yeah, the druid would be good for that. And then also on Zon'ozz, you really don't tank anything as an off tank until the intermission, right? And that thing barely hits anything, so you can allow yourself to go very very offensive as an off tank there. Um, but DK can kind of slap too, honestly, on that fight as an off tank, because the debuff from the dot right on Sonos, it gives you full vengeance if you get it. The balances themselves, it takes some time to ramp up, but you do get full vengeance from that. And then, of course, you have full vengeance in the intermission phase. I think I was doing around like 42, 43k DPS on DK as an off tank there. So like, it's really not too big of a deal. So overall, I think I would, like, if I got to choose, I would probably say Bloody K, but Feral Druid will be perfectly fine. And then the block tanks will, like normal, they'll suffer. Nothing new there. But they'll have their time to shine on Spine.
Yeah, pretty much same opinion from me. It's really fight by fight, like which off tank would be best. Uh on Warhorn, Feral is like crazy. Dude, the avoids, like them just like oftentimes not getting hit by Devastate for long periods of time when that part of the fight is actually like pretty short.
Yeah.
Um it's just so helpful. And as far as like block tanks, I actually kind of feel like Prot is not that bad. I think they're a pretty good off tank. Like having the guaranteed 31% damage reduction on physical attacks on something like Warhorn, even. And like you're not going to be tanking him a long period of time. So Holy Shield will have like a huge uptime. So
Mhm.
you'll have 51% damage reduction on all the physical attacks. And then, I mean, you got deep Prot, you can like bubble taunt, things like that. So I'm fairly high on Prop Valley, to be honest. I think they're going to be solid,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
overall, I think for Prague, most people are probably going Blood DK Feral, double Blood DK, also very good. Things like Morchok, I mean, double Blood DK makes that really easy. Um, for Ultraxion, for sure, double Blood DK. You gain like 10,000 plus DPS with a second Blood DK versus like a Feral Druid.
Yeah.
And any extra damage you can bring to your raid is just so huge for that fight. It's a fight where you will have
On
like,
25 minutes at least, yeah.
yeah. Um, yeah, I guess as we go through it too, we should probably talk about like difficulty difference between the two. So,
Yeah.
like for Morchok, what would you say, 25 versus 10?
Coin flip. Honestly, I think it might be harder on 10 man because you don't have the same tools in your raid to deal with things. But both are quite easy fights, like pushover fights. I would say that they're quite similar in difficulty. Yeah.
Okay. Um, I guess a good way to put things into perspective too is like talk about pull counts. So like on
Mm.
25, like how many pulls did it take you guys to get like more chalk?
I wasn't there for our first night, so
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. For us, I think it was like 10. So like it
Okay.
wasn't not a difficult boss. Definitely amongst the lower amounts of pull counts, I would say, for bosses throughout the whole expansion so far.
Yeah. Our pull count was probably like 5 or 6 on opening night with going in fairly blind, um so I would maybe 10 man slightly easier then. Yeah, like Go said, the Morchok HP in 10 man is just so low. It dies so quickly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see like the crazy stuff we'll be able to do with that like ICC buff coming.
Oh
Uh,
god.
because like so for everybody who doesn't know, back in the day, Dragon Soul had a progressive debuff on the mobs. So they got it was 5% weak, went up to 35%. So by the end, they had 35% less HP and did 35% less damage. This time around, Blizzard added in just an ICC, basically copy paste, where it's 5%, goes up to 30%, and it's just like ICC, where it was increased player damage, health, healing, and absorbs. And goddamn, things are gonna be crazy. Like once you have full
Yeah.
Dragon Soul gear and you have 30% buff, I mean, a lot of people in chat probably remember how insane things got in ICC when you got that buff up, but like you were doing things like zero room HLK and things like that. But
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. We're like we might you know, maybe this is a bad time to bring it up, but eventually I think it will be able to solo tank every single boss in there. Um So might
yeah, I could see
spine
that.
might be like it might be annoying to do, but it's doable.
Yeah,
But
Spine would
you'll
be
probably just have to
super
take some on.
annoying.
Yeah.
Uh yeah, for Ultraxion too, like you're gonna have the extra damage taken like coming out of fading, but it probably won't matter at that point. I think you'll be able to live that no problem.
Yeah.
All right.
Indeed.
So let's move on to Yor'sahj.
Yor'sahj.
No Yor'sahj.
No, your.
Uh so this is a fight we did two tank it, but I feel like it's very solo tankable, especially with like Tolbarad Trinket. The main damage you're taking here as the tank is this shadow dot, resistible shadow damage.
Mm.
And on a few of our scuff pulls, I actually just like solo tanked it for a long time and
Mm.
without TB trinket, and like with TB trinket giving you like I think it's on average like 30% damage reduction from resist.
Yeah.
Uh like it seems to me and you get this whole intermission thing for it to or this whole ooze phase for it to cool down. So every
Yeah.
single time you're tanking him, you have the TB trinket. So I think this is actually a really easy fight to solo tank, but
I
Gil,
agree.
Gil didn't want to solo tank it for prog. So
No.
I think that's something we'll do very quickly, though, because it's already super doable, it feels like to me.
Yeah, I don't see a reason why you wouldn't be able to solo tank this very early. But that being said, there is no reason to solo tank it either on prog because like the enrage timer is non-existent and there is no tight DPS check of any kind. Um, so if you have or if you are have to deal with the black ooze that gives you the healing stack debuff that we you can't heal over 5, and then you have 5 stacks of the black ooze as well, or the debuff, right? Because the tank debuff it stacks up to 5 times maximum.
Mm,
Um, and you're gonna be taking a ton of damage at that point. Like our
yeah.
tank has died at 3 stacks, just natty. Obviously, he
Really?
didn't prepare to
Yeah.
to
Oh,
using proper cooldowns and tank 3 of them, but it has happened. Yeah. So
Okay.
I just think you're probably griefing yourself a little bit trying to solo tank it week 1, but it will it'll definitely be something that you do like even week 2, week 3.
Yeah, honestly, even on like the impromptu solo tank pulls, I was going through those like healing debuffs too. And like, I mean, that was
Yeah.
just like the pop wall point, and it felt like super manageable. So I think people will get to it pretty quickly. Uh, just played super safe for prog, but keep in mind you'll be doing that after not too
Yeah.
long. So I mean, for this fight, like if you're playing the super safe way, it's basically just taunt every 2 stacks of the tank debuff, and that's about it. And then just go kill whatever ooze Foji tells you to kill.
We had the first version. Foji told us to kill black every time. Like, I don't know,
Yeah,
Foji. I don't know what
yeah.
you're up to,
There
but
were
that's not what
some
we're doing, at
there were
least.
some pretty sus comms from Foji. There were.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think
not
I
gonna
think
lie.
the
Not gonna
first time
lie.
we all heard that, the entire raid said, "Huh?"
Huh?
um, yeah, Foji obviously still working on the add-on. Some of these PTRs were pretty sprung on us, right? Like
Yeah.
I think we got what, a day and a half notice, then we got like a day notice, then we got like under a day notice or something like that
Mhm.
for all 3 of them. So
I was
yeah.
on my phone. I was up too late. It was like 1:30 in the morning, or after midnight, and it was on the Thursday, I think. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my God, my wife is going to absolutely kill me. It's
And
insane.
then it ends up it's 3 weeks in a row. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um yeah, man, yeah, just I wish they could give a little bit more of a heads up. Like I can't
Yeah.
imagine they like actually didn't know they were doing testing. Um yeah, so I mean on this fight, like basically yeah, it's like taunt every 2 debuffs if you're playing it safe, and go kill an ooze that um your raid leader has gone into the custom options of Foji and picked like which ooze will be killed and which
Yeah.
combinations, and that's the whole fight. AoE these ads, this is a nice part of Foji. It tells you when they're immune, the
Mm.
ads, so that you don't, like pest too early or whatever. It's really awkward because they come out one at a time. They're immune when they
Yeah.
first come out, and there's a lot of them that come out. So like pestilence and like D&D timing feels so awkward on this because you
Very
feel
awkward
like
indeed.
you're almost never getting like full value if you do it
Yeah.
before they're all spawned. But
Indeed.
um
I
yeah.
think I think one thing to keep in mind is that when the yellow buff is active, he gets the notification now that it's okay, we're killing yellow here. But if you don't kill yellow, it will just be generally one overlap where you do have that, which is the yellow, red, and black. Um, he does 50% increased attack speed, um, and he does kind of slap. Your whole raid is kind of getting slapped by that combo, and then you're getting slapped even harder as well. So that is a good time to use your defensives,
Actually,
your walls, and whatever else.
I'm gonna be honest, I had no clue he ever got increased attack speed. I never noticed a difference. Like as a tank doing the safe strat where you taunt every 2, it's just so easy. Like I feel like this is something you can never die on, because like you tank him for maybe like 15 seconds or whatever, 20 seconds, like each go. And
Mm.
then you run out, all your CDs get to recharge. So you always have Bone Shield for every time you're tanking him. You always have Vamp Blood for when you're tanking him. And
Yeah.
then, like, if you need it, you have, like Rune Tap. I mean, AMS pretty much negates his dot ticks. So, like, as the second one's hitting you, you can just throw the AMS because the other tank's about to taunt it.
Yep.
And yeah, I don't know. This fight, as I take it, just feels so sleeper. Um,
Yeah,
probably
it's
probably
a
one of
quite
the
boring fight overall. Tank, I
yeah.
think.
I feel like at least fire
Um,
mages get to like AoE so hard. Like it might be kind of fun when the ads come out. But
The, only fight you have double Crimson Scourge for.
yeah, right.
Can confirm,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. Any differences on 10 min?
The only difference is obviously you're soul tanking quite comfortably. Um, we've been running with both 2 and 3 healers, but that's another thing where like doing the doing 3 heal, like you literally lose nothing. You might not gain a ton, but when it matters, when you have that yellow and red overlap, and when you have like the red and purple overlap and stuff like that extra healer can come in very clutch. And there's a mage timer, I think it's 10 minutes on this fight, 9 or 10 minutes. Like if you just want to get a safe kill, you run 3 healers, even if it's not really necessary. But you always solo tank. There's no reason not to solo tank here. AMS doesn't prevent the application of the stack. It's good to know. But it does obviously reduce the amount of damage you take by a significant amount.
Yep.
Uh,
And
yeah.
you have it
Apart from
every
that,
single like go because
yeah.
45-second cooldown. You use it at the highest damage point, then you get that. I think we timed it, and it was like 34 seconds from the time he like starts the ooze cast to an ooze reaching him, and then there's like
Yeah.
time after that where he doesn't even actually attack your raid yet.
Mm-hmm.
So you almost have, I think, like the full 45 seconds of just that ooze thing like resolving before you're even like taking damage again as a tank.
Yeah, indeed. So you'll have Vamp Blood and AMS for and Bone Shield for every single go.
Yeah.
One thing to keep in mind as well here is that this little ball right here you see floating around on the right side, that is very grippable.
Yes.
And you should certainly on 25 man you should grip it in often, so you can just passively cleave on it. But at least on 10 man, you would grip it in right before it's about to die, so you can finish it off. And it has a 25-yard radius when it dies. Yeah, so you want to obviously have it close to the raid when it dies and not kill it out in Africa, and then no one gets the mana back.
Yeah, this is
Um,
one to communicate about for sure. Because, like, at least in our raids from Cleave, it was like dying so fast. There are definitely times like you can't just like grip it in every time your grip's off cooldown. Uh,
no, for sure, for sure.
so for sure, like when it like first spawns, you can like grip it in, and then watch the HP on it. You gotta be a little bit careful there to make sure it doesn't just accidentally die before you need it. Because basically, what you're looking for is you want to kill it when the next one spawns, essentially. So that would be the timing to be looking for the kill grip. But focus grip it in is kind of the easiest way to do it.
Yeah, indeed.
As far as
Indeed.
pull counts, so this was a weird one for us because our first kill was like 7 pulls for the kill. We had a good comp and everything, and then the next PTR, it was like we had very few people that were able to make it, so we had to just kind of go with what we had, and we had a much worse comp, and it took us like over 20 pulls to get our second kill with that like
What,
worse
really?
comp. Yeah,
Holy.
yeah, it was like a grind to get
Yeah.
that second kill with like a bad comp. But
Huh.
then like the next time we had like the good comp again, it was like easy. I think we one shot it. So like
Yeah.
that's one of the things about Dragon Soul. It just feels so comp dependent, at least on 25 man. Probably on 10
I
man
agree with
even
that. Yeah.
more, I would think. And like when you have those comps where you have like 5+ fire mages, everything just feels so much easier.
Yeah. No, I agree. We had a very low pull count on both 10 and 25 man. Actually, 25 man, I don't really know because this is one of those bosses where I wasn't there for the first PTR session. But obviously, like second time we went back, I think we killed it in 1 or 2 pulls. Um, on 10 man, I think we killed it in like 3 or 4 pulls, but that was also with our raid leader being like, okay, we're gonna kill Black, because we want to maximize uptime on the boss and whatever else, and then like, oh, I don't think this is working, and then people figuring out like, okay, maybe don't what's it called, the priest damaging ability that leads to debuff. Holy Fire. Don't Holy Fire during the purple phase, because you will one shot the raid. It even happened in the video that you have on the screen right now. Luckily, we did survive it despite having 3 explosions. But but yeah, it's a quite easy fight. And once you figure it out, like what to kill and when to use your defensives, your raid cooldowns, and more importantly, which fights not or which spells not to press, and then the fight becomes very, very easy. One shot every week. 100%. 100%.
Yeah. All right. I think ready to move on. So for this fight, I mean, I would kind of just do like double damage trinkets, but you can use like survivability trinkets till you get comfortable with it. At this point, I've done the fight so many times, I feel like double damage is totally fine. But yeah, just maybe start with survivability trinkets, feel it out, and then you'll be like, oh wait, this boss doesn't really do anything to me. Okay. Change trinkets.
Yeah, I ran with harder rage and my worm on Talman, and that was very comfortable. Could probably have done even higher if I wanted to, but or even more DPS oriented if I wanted to, but it was kind of just going through it for the first time, not really so worrying too much about
Yeah.
PTR parses.
Yeah.
But for 25 man, I think people should still run 2 defensive trinkets, because your damage is just so crap on the boss, because you don't get vengeance when he's casting his face, and you only have like about 60% uptime on your vengeance, so your damage is kind of crap anyway.
It's rough.
Yeah. I will say though that Bone Link will be great on that fight.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah. So if you want
AoE proc
to run a
trinket
trinket,
for everybody who doesn't know the names yet. AoE proc trinket, little whirlwind proc on
little
hit.
whirlwind.
Sorry, big whirlwind. Big whirlwind. Let me give it all its respect. But yeah, I forget the ICD is like 7 seconds or something, right?
No, it's higher. It's 27 seconds.
Oh, that one's 27. I might be thinking of the Agi one. I think that one's shorter.
Yeah. I think that one's 4.5, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, big strength trinket. One of the things you're gonna want from Raid Finder as well.
Yep. They'll scale with vengeance very well.
We talked about gear earlier. I guess I should mention, just for anybody who hasn't been like following the news too. So Raid Finder as a difficulty is not happening for Kata. And all that gear is going on to a vendor, basically the new Inferno dungeon vendor. They're called Twilights. That's where the gear is going. And then the end boss of those Twilights also drops the gear too. So the end boss is going to drop the gear, and then you're also going to get a currency that lets you buy the gear from the vendor that you don't get lucky and get as a drop. So to me, it seems like this is going to be a super quick, easy farm. But yeah, that's how you're actually getting this Raid Finder gear. You're not actually doing Raid Finder.
Yeah, so it has like per end boss, you get you get 1 tier token and 1 predetermined off weapon or off piece. And it has a loot table. So like if you want to target a specific weapon, like you want to go after Girthneck, for example, you have to run Stonecore. And then if you want to get a ring, like if you want to get the hit mastery ring, for example, before progression, then you need to go into Dead Mines, for example. You also get the currency to buy whatever you don't get. I wouldn't worry too much about tier, because tier, it feels like you can knock out very easily because you always are guaranteed a tier every single run you do. But there will be some pieces, like for example me, I didn't get my um, my belt. I need to pick up the belt from the vendor. I need to pick up the trinkets because it seems like the trinkets do not drop from the bosses. So there'll certainly be some farming to be done. And for me personally, I need to pick up about 17 or 18 items in 2 days. So I am not, I'm looking at you, mental. I
Ooh.
think we'll be running a lot of heroic pluses here after the raid comes out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking forward to it just because it's going to be nice to have things to do in Kata again. And it feels like
Mm-hmm.
it's been a while since we have. And
I've done
these
one on
look
the
a little
PTR, and
better.
they're quite fun, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, with the buff, it seemed like it was actually kind of fun. You get like
Mhm.
100% damage buff, I believe, the whole time
Yeah.
as a Blood DK by taking the healing buff.
Yeah. Same with Prot Warrior and Guardian Druid.
We love that.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. I don't know why they didn't do something similar for the last one.
Yeah.
That
Let's not
was
talk about
weird. That was weird. All right.
Let's not
So
talk about that.
let's hop into Zon'ozz now.
Mhm.
So
The big roadblock for a lot of people.
yeah, this is the first boss you're gonna run into that's probably gonna take you a lot of pulls.
Yeah.
For us, it took 55 pulls for us to get our first kill. I'm not sure.
Really
I'm not sure what it was like for you guys.
less, but still a lot compared to most of the other bosses.
Yeah, this was our second highest wipe count of the entire expansion after Rag. So definitely one it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
So for
That's
this
for sure.
boss, he's got a frontal, and you're gonna want to AMS it as often as you can. Fuji's gonna give you a little countdown when it can be used. It won't be used right away, always. Sometimes it will be used right away, but not always.
Yeah.
So just kind of pop it there. So it seems to me, from all my polls, there are certain like windows where he always casts it late or he always casts it immediately. So
Oh,
like
okay.
coming out of the first transition, I've noticed he always casts it like instantly, like right when it comes up, he casts it. So you want to have the AMS ready like early on that one. The first
Yeah.
one of the entire fight is usually super late. Sometimes it's so late, your AMS, 7-second AMS can wear off if you press it right at 0. So I actually delay my AMS on the first one. I try to delay it like 2 seconds
Okay.
to try to make sure I actually grab it because the first one is always so late. But coming out of transition, one, it's always instant. So have that one early. And then as the fight goes on, you can kind of just press it before the Fuji timer hits 0 and you'll be good.
Like right before.
Yeah.
Because it can still be sketch.
Yeah. I can't recall any that are as late as the very first one in the fight. That one seems to always just be, maybe the Fuji timer is just wrong on that one. I'm not sure.
It could
Because
be.
like that one seemed to just always be so late. But yeah, just keep that in mind. While they are random, you'll pick up on the pattern of like sort of when they happen throughout the fight. So I don't know, maybe Fuji can incorporate that later or something, because I picked up on a pretty distinct pattern of like when they actually happen as the fight went on. But
Yeah, I didn't I didn't put in 55 pulls before I killed it, so obviously I don't have the extensive
yeah,
experience that you do.
yeah,
I
no,
probably
I
have
sat in front of this
more than
boss a lot.
55 pulls though on the cross 10 man and 25 man and everything like that.
So the frontal also, it does a good chunk of damage to you. So I mean, you're gonna AMS regardless, but just be aware that you're gonna take a good chunk of damage. and it's going to heal him for 10 times more than the damage it deals to you.
Yep.
So also it's a frontal, obviously, so be really cognizant of like who's around you and like call out, like if people are in a bad spot, call out that they need to be careful for the frontal, because
Yep.
before the tentacle phase a lot of people will start like inching over to like where they need to be for tentacles, and they aren't really looking at the frontal, so try to keep an eye on that for them.
Either that or that you have melee that are getting out of the way of the orb as it's about to hit the boss.
Yeah.
Might be putting themselves in some awkward positions. But then on the other hand too, if the frontal is not about to happen, like don't be afraid to kind of like move the boss if you have to. Um, there, the ball is a little bit sussy. It does like to do its own thing. And if
Yeah.
you right here you see that frontal beam going off, feel free to move that thing like you're doing right here. You have people that are in front of you, but that's not gonna matter because that frontal is not gonna come out for another 30 something seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, just like
Um,
really watch that frontal timer, because
yeah,
there's a lot of movement that can be done if you're like paying attention to it, like Riani said.
yeah, and then of course it's worth noting that it does times the amount of damage it deals. Heals for 10 times the amount of damage it does. So using AMS, using um, PS, wall, even Tolba Rat Trinket if you want to run that. I probably don't think you need to, but all
I did on
that.
our first pull, or our first
Yeah,
kill, but I think it's not the play.
I don't think so either. But either way, like using all those things will reduce the healing in combination with, of course, mortal strike effects on the boss as well. So the healing does not really become that much of an issue. But of course, if it hits the whole raid, you're probably in a bad spot.
Yep.
Yep. Yep.
So as each, so basically this is split into like two phases that just go back and forth, back and forth. First phase is when you're tanking the boss and the orb is just moving around. You're gonna have soakers that when they hit it, it'll send the orb going the other direction. So it's basically just gonna be ping ponging between your melee and ranged. Typically, you have like a fire mage or something. Fire mage due to Cauteres, soaking the ball for the range, and they'll have a whole rotation for that. And then when it comes in, the melee will soak. You can see here we're moving because the angles are pretty shit sometimes.
Yeah.
That one we're actually phasing, I guess. But it's just a lot of ping ponging for the raid there, and try to just keep an eye on it so you can sort of move the boss a little bit to sort of move them into position to do their soak, so they don't have to like run out. This is a pretty heavy DPS check fight. So whatever you can do to maximize damage for the raid is big.
Yeah. Honestly, I think actually less so in 25 than in 10.
Yeah, so our first kill was actually like kind of slow, and like at first we were like running into damage check issues, but then we really learned how to like utilize the damage amp debuff on him well, and
Mm.
our kills
Yeah.
after that were like 20-30 seconds quicker than our first one.
Yeah. I've had to. I've run into the issue now that our our kills are faster than 5 minutes, so I can't use double Empower Room Up them.
Wow.
So I had to
Yeah.
choose to do it late to get to the effect of the damage buff, right?
Geez, yeah. I don't think we've reached that. I think our best one is probably like 520, 515, something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Um 6-minute berserk timer for anybody who doesn't know. So during the phase one portions, when you're tanking the boss and that ping ponging's happening, the boss is getting a stacking and rage buff on him that gives him increased damage done and increased attack speed. So he's going to be doing significantly more damage as this phase goes on. So it's one of those situations where you're using minor cooldowns earlier, working into larger cooldowns. The strat we used was 9 soaks and then 7-7. I'm not sure what you guys did.
hmm Same on 25 man, yeah.
Same. Okay. So that first one, it's gonna go pretty long. He's gonna have a lot of stacks of his enrage, so that's where you for sure want to have like wall and PS. Kind of the CD rotation I ended up doing that just made me live every single time was I waited till like 3.5 orb soaks to use Bone Shield. And then I would, when I needed to, press Vamp Blood. It wasn't like a exact set time, but whenever I needed Vamp Blood, I would use it. And then I would work into after that, it was just PS when the Bone Shield and Vamp Blood had faded, and then Wall when the PS faded. And that was just guaranteed, always live the full 9 soaks, and it was easy. And then for the next one, it's the 7. So on the 7, all I needed was, I did that exact same thing. Bone Shield at like 3.5, Vamp Blood when I need it, and then Sack at the tail end of that, because like your Vamp Blood's probably wearing off before you actually transition it. So just to be safe, take a Sack there, just to make sure you don't get randomly gibbed like right as you're transitioning.
Yeah.
And then you'll have PS and IBF back up for the next one. But you're only going 7 on the next one. So you just kind of have an embarrassment of riches at that point. Like you're just like never gonna die for the most part. So just, you know, save those for when you need them, use them, and you should be good. But the highest damage part of the fight is gonna be that first phase 1 you do, because you're taking him to more stacks than you will the rest of the entire fight.
It is also worth keeping in mind that the stacks do not correspond to the ball bounces. So if you think that, you know, oh, well, I'm going to get less stacks because our fire mage is running out far away and bouncing the ball, you know, in Africa for it to come back. So I'm not really going to have to worry about defensive cooldowns. It still stacks up all the same, and it's independent of the orb bounces.
Yeah. So when I say I'm doing it based on like 3.5 orb soaks, it's because our group always soaks it at the same distance every single time. So like you can just like look at the enraged debuffs. I was always just looking at orb soaks, but like as long as orb soaks are consistent, that's gonna be a fine metric to like look at.
I agree.
And the orb soak is when like, you know, you actually have to do the things you do, like move the boss to like catch an orb potentially, or like just when you know like the phase is going to end. So that's why I always like looked at the orb soaks rather than the enraged debuffs, is because I know like when it hits 9, I'm not taking damage anymore. When it hits 7, I'm not taking damage anymore. So I found it more useful for me just because we had consistent soaks on distance and everything to just look at the orb soaks. But realistically, the thing that's causing you to take lots of damage is the enrage, not the orb soaks.
Indeed.
Let's see. Let me go back. So that's phase 1. Once you kind of get your CD rotation down there, you should be good. I honestly just save my Empower Rune Weapon for when I feel like I need the heal. I wasn't using it like offensively. Just for prog, you know, to guarantee that we're not gonna just have a stupid tank death wipe. Empower Rune Weapon though is high value, obviously for damage, because you do have a damage amp. For every orb soak that happens, he gives a stacking damage taken debuff. So you will be able to do a lot of damage. For these phase 2s, these tentacle phases, let's see, this should be one right here. So we're dragging the boss to like soak it. And basically, as a tank, you're tanking this claw tentacle. As long as you're in melee range of it and have threat on it, well, you should just have threat on it in general. But as long as you're in melee range of it, uh, it will not use its like AoE kind of raid wiper ability. So you want to just stay in melee range of this. Make sure it's only meleeing. It's not doing its like huge AoE dam. So we pull the boss next to it. Warriors, rogues are really gonna like this because they get a damage amp and their blade flurry and like sweeping strikes will like they hit the boss and then they do insane dam on the ads. So have the boss next to the claw and then we're dragging it to the other claw. And then keep in mind the boss, he drops the orb in front of him. So have him positioned the way you want the orb to go and then flip him 180 degrees once it comes out and move him like 10 yards back. I found when I didn't move him 10 yards back, at least with where people were soaking it for us, the orb was coming in and it has like a 5-second cooldown before it can get knocked again. You can see that right here.
Yeah.
It was coming into melee while it was still on cooldown, and then it just phases the boss. So at least for the distance people were soaking it in our raid, I found it very helpful to just move the boss 10 yards back after he launches the orb.
The hitbox was quite wonky on the PTR too. Sometimes it just transitioned without,
Yeah.
just going through the whole melee camp. It's like, oh god damn it.
Yeah.
But yeah. I will say though that if I was in charge of doing the assignments in your guild, I probably would have switched you guys, right? So you are the one that's tanking that one that's going to be up far, not just having to move the boss and then kind of just having the boss positioned towards wherever you want to face him and cleave down the claw with the boss, allowing your cat to go into or your druid to go into cat form again.
Sorry, where was
Minor
it?
thing, but like you tank the one that dies first, right? And then you
Yeah,
drag the
mine just
boss
dies
over.
first because all the cleavers that are cleaving the damage amp off the boss are on that one. So it's just gonna die first.
Oh, I thought probably because of your assignments, because we have the same thing. We have the claw the far claw that you were tanking, that'll be the one that dies first all the time, and then the other one is just kind of cleave down with the boss, and we have the boss on the one that dies slowly, so to speak. Yeah, I could
Okay.
definitely see that with like if you have combat rogues and wherever else. Yeah, so you have two
Yeah.
combat rogues just pumping on that thing.
Yeah, you can see the combat rogues are number 1
Yeah.
and 2, and then we got the arms warrior number 3. Yeah,
Yep.
they were just able to do so much damage off that damage amp cleave.
Yeah.
So
I see.
yeah,
That's fair.
they
That's fair.
whatever they're on, like whatever tickle like boss is next to is just inherently gonna die quicker with them on them. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's all that is.
Yeah. Speaking of intermission, this is going to be the hardest phase for sure. A benefit that we had doing double bloody cape was that we had vamp blood, AoE vamp blood for every single
Ooh.
intermission phase, which is quite nice. But this is really the place where you will have to where you probably wipe the most trying to figure it out and whatever else. So I'll just do a little shameless plug. 6 hours and 59 minutes ago, my Zon'ozz guide came out on YouTube. Very important. I even sent over on Discord to you, Salmo, some graphics with assignments for that phase to make life a little bit easier.
Okay.
I think a lot of people would appreciate those kind of assignments as well, especially going into both Taman and 25 man and getting some assignments done.
Let's see. Let me find the bigger window so I can show everything.
Absolutely. Oh, my tea is already gone. Crazy.
It's mostly on there. I can link these. I'll have these in the
Yeah.
description though too, and
Yeah.
you can link them in chat right now too if you want.
I don't know how to do that with files, but it is. They're obviously available in the Riani Discord, so
Make
can
sure
go
you
over
guys
and.
are in Riani's Discord. Yeah, to do it with files though, you just click the image, then bottom left corner, open in browser, and then you can just copy paste the URL.
Oh, there you go. There you go. All right.
But yeah, I'll have that in the description, but also just join Riani's Discord, obviously, to get that. All right. And any major differences for 10 man?
I will say that Tama feels quite a bit like more unforgiving. You would generally want to go less bounces on Tama. And so we went 7, 5, 5, 5. And it's not allowing you to send more than one. So yeah, we'll just have to
Okay.
do a little one of these, so you can go check them out in the Discord channel instead. But yeah, so you do 755 instead of Taman, and the range can be a little bit more iffy because you actually have people in range this time. Like you don't just have solo soakers like you do on 25 man. And so tank damage once you get towards the higher stacks can be very iffy. You also have obviously less externals or whatever else. And then I found that in the intermission phase, kind of slaps as well, as you're tanking the boss and the claw, and you will not really have a lot of direct heals at that point because the healers will be out dealing with the ads, and they won't really come into range for you until a little bit later. So kind of have to rely on beacon healing from a paladin. Because you take less bounces, the enrage timer also feels a little bit more tight. At least when we did it, we obviously didn't optimize too terribly for it. We even had a bounce that went in early at the end. But you see, I had to pop in a defensive empowered room weapon. Can you believe it? Oh, man,
Crazy.
Man, Riani he's changed, man. But yeah, it's a quite annoying fight. The values are quite high, but once you figure out the assignments, it becomes a significantly easier fight. Like once you figure out who goes where, and getting down the flails and using your limited raid defensives, it becomes much more manageable.
Yeah.
We probably spent about 50 pulls on 10 too, if I'm not gonna lie.
All right. Anything else for that?
I think we're good on this fight. I would definitely recommend going for more beefy setup on 25 man. On 10 man, I think I ran with DPS trinket and a crit meta gem.
Nice.
So obviously you do slap quite hard. And if you need to meet that DPS check, you need to make sure that you're pumping at least 40k DPS, or it's or you've been doing something wrong.
Yep. Yeah, this is one of the harder hitting bosses in the whole raid. So
For sure.
Yeah, just very tanky set for this.
Yep.
All right, now Hagara.
Yeah.
So
Easier fight.
Yeah, yeah. This I think our first kill was 2 pulls, and I mean I think 1 or 2 pulls is gonna be what it takes pretty much everybody. As long as you're going in with a good idea of what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, indeed, indeed. I think the only time where people might die during Prague is when they're getting too fancy with um, the frost phase or just random damage here in this phase if they soak too much the icicles.
Yeah. And lightning phase mishaps potentially if like
Like
people
that
aren't in
can
the right
happen, but
spot and just get like AoE'd.
once you have the assignments done, it's a very, very, very easy portion of the fight.
Oh,
Very,
for
very
sure.
quick.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, we have the assignments down. For some reason, people just aren't at the spot sometimes. It's like, I don't know what else we could do.
Yeah. Oh,
Um,
you guys don't do the middle strat, huh?
there was some talk about it, and they decided to just do this.
Yep.
But yeah, this phase basically you're just going around clockwise, killing these crystals. When the ice wall thing's about to hit you, just like dip through this like shield thing to dodge it. And
You can't even like thread the needle. Like you can't walk between
yeah, okay,
the bubble and the wall.
nice.
You can also just take the wall. It doesn't
Yeah, I
matter
didn't
how many
actually
damage,
try
but
100k.
yeah. But then if you aim as it's 25k.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and if you get the debuff, just run like to that edge of the middle ring, get dispelled, it'll drop like a little patch on the ground. This focus assault does a ton of damage, but
Mm-hmm.
also you're gonna have cooldowns for every single one. So just make sure you have like bone shield up. If you like DS during it, it's gonna be a huge heal. It's gonna be a huge
Yeah.
heal and shield. These ice tombs, they do LOS, so just be aware of that. But
Mm-hmm.
you should kind of have the raid set up so that they're gonna be in a spot that doesn't cause any problems,
But you
and
might
they
have to
can be
drag it
AoE
out a
down.
few yards if they're put in a bad spot.
Yeah.
One thing we do keep talking about bloody case here quite frequently for obviously good reason, but to give some love here to our block tags out there. The that ability, focus assault, it cannot be dodged, parried, or blocked.
Ooh,
So it is a bit of a bummer dealing with that on we're in Prot Paladin.
that's actually wild. Like,
Yeah.
they already have so little. Why do we have to take that from them? Like, even
Yeah,
on
and
the
then you just
easiest fight in the entire raid, they're like, you know what? The like one mechanic on this fight, you can't do your thing on it. It's not
yeah.
allowed.
Yeah. Oh, and bloody case, by the way. Yeah, you get a full lay on hands by pressing Death Strike.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Like, blood is like even better for this mechanic than like typical mechanics, and like
Yeah.
block tags just don't even like baseline. They don't even get to like play at all. Oh man, that's tough.
Oh man.
Next
Yeah.
expansion,
That's how it
right?
do be
Next
sometimes.
expansion. Uh
Surely. Surely.
yeah. So should mention too, coming out of each of these special phases, basically there's a she'll be frost or she'll be lightning.
Yeah.
She does like those ice blocks and some little ice shards that are go around the room and like shoot a person in their line with a debuff. Uh, those are kind of the ice phase mechanics, and then when the ice like second phase happens, is just this thing, and you just keep doing these over and over again. It just goes ice, then lightning, or lightning, then ice, whichever you start with.
Yeah.
And you
It's
just
worth keeping in mind that you
do them over and
probably
over.
won't have vengeance after the frost phase, because after each phase, they'll do Hagara will be stunned for a bit and take, I think it's 100% increased damage.
Yeah, I think so.
So like you might want to plan your empowered room weapon to be after a lightning phase where you'll actually have vengeance.
Mm-hmm. Good call. Good call.
But I think maybe pull up the lightning phase that you did here. I saw it
Yeah.
earlier, and
Yeah.
it
Let's
was
go back to that. Because
very
there's a little
clean.
bit to talk about there. Okay. So she's about to go into lightning phase. But yeah, this focus assault, I mean, man, feels good to be a blood DK.
Yeah, sure does. Sure does.
And here it comes. So the ad, I couldn't remember where it spawned, so I was like looking around it. It's always going to spawn between where I have triangle and diamond here, which I
It
think
spawns
is
on the
north.
portal.
Is that north?
Um,
I think that's north on the minimap where it spawns.
yeah, that would be north, I think, yeah. But it spawns on the portal that you take in from the platform, like where you teleport to this platform. There's a portal that's left behind, and that's where the elemental spawns.
Yeah. And then basically when it spawns, you're gonna drag it to the middle. You should have people pre-assigned. On 25 minutes, basically gonna be like 3 people. There's gonna be one every like 7 yards, something like that. Just making a little chain out to here. There's gonna be a conductor thing over here. And when the ad dies, it's gonna empower people with lightning, and they'll do like a chain lightning effect to people near them. So what we're trying to accomplish here is we have everybody pre-set up in position. So when it dies in the middle, everybody close gets hit by it, and then they just instantly chain it out to their conductor.
Yeah.
And the phase just ends immediately.
Yep. Worth, of course, keeping in mind as well that the pets do indeed chain the effects. If you don't want to put a person there that you don't trust.
Okay, pets too. All right, love that. That's
But yeah.
really good for 10 man, I guess, probably. I assume it's like
Yeah.
a bigger range it travels in 10 man, or there's fewer conductors. I haven't.
There's more
done it.
conductors.
Oh, there's more.
So on 10 man, you have 8
Yeah, let's
conductors.
actually watch that. Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not sure if we do if we just play it like normal, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Where you like kind of run around as a group. Like, I think that's what we did at first, but I'm not sure if we maybe did do the little cheeky spreading from the middle on this run. We'll have
Oh,
to see
wow. Yeah,
here.
there are more. Interesting.
Yeah. No, we don't do that strat. We do a little just normal strat connecting
Okay.
them. You need 2 between each one, but it goes kind of quickly doing the normal stuff
Yeah,
either
that was
way.
fast. Okay.
But there's the way that you do it on um on 10 man is that you do the same thing where you have 2 people assigned to, like, from the middle. So you have 2 people assigned to um the short conduit. And then
Okay.
once you trigger that conduit, you just instantly run out and have the same 2 people so like spread it to the next one.
Gotcha.
And that is super super quick as well, almost as quick as it is on 25 man. And of course there is a time where you can pre-place your pets, for example, and just instantly run out to the pets to have it chain the effect. But that's not necessary really.
Okay. So for this fight, I mean, you could honestly probably just wear any gear you want. Just make sure you have cooldowns for the focus assault. Make sure you're pressing Death
Yep.
Strike during the focus assault. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of the main thing.
You can, of course, err on the side of caution if you want to reduce the margin for error. There is no real, DPS check per se. The DPS check would maybe be if you want to try to push her in 2 phases, but when you're progressing, you don't really care too much about that.
Yeah. Yeah, just take the easy
Arrow
kill
run
week
through the
1.
wall.
Yeah, okay. Nice. Do you know if you can jump over it? So this was a thing
Yeah,
on
you can.
Halion.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
Yeah.
I do it at some point as well.
Yeah,
You
because
can't just jump
on
over it.
Halion beams, you could actually just jump over it and not take
Really? Oh,
damage.
that's
Yeah.
hilarious.
You had to like time it well, but like I would do it for fun on like some of the wipes. And I was
Yeah.
like, holy shit, wait, you can just jump over this? Okay. Yeah. I mean, super easy boss. Hands down easiest boss of the raid and maybe the expansion. I honestly think this boss is easier than Rhyolith, which I think is
Nah. Calm down.
really
You had a easy, nice little first kill, and now you're out here
what.
saying that is the easiest boss of the tier or the expansion. Calm down.
I mean, I honestly think Atramedes is harder. I'm gonna
Okay,
say
all
it.
right.
I'm gonna say
Calm
it. I
down.
think Halphus is harder. I'm saying it.
Alphas maybe.
I'm sticking to it. This is the easiest boss of the entire expansion.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Lock it in. Lock it in.
All right, it's locked in. Well, I do think it's an easy fight. Like, don't get me wrong, but I think honestly, I think more people will uh will kill Morchok than Hagara.
Really?
Yeah,
Just because it's the
that's
first boss?
wild.
Because
Yeah,
like I mean,
I agree.
first boss always like just has higher kill count just because it's the first. So like
Yeah.
groups like come in and it's kind of their like test of like, is this raid actually gonna be worth my time? Like for pugs and stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, and yeah, I don't know, man. I feel like Morchok is like he's not a hard boss, but I feel like he's so much harder than Hagara. Like it's crazy to me. Um, anyway, people, week 1. Like if you're looking at bosses, your raid's probably gonna kill. I would say like Morchok and Hagara for sure, and then like Yor'sahj after that would be kind of the 3. Um, would you add anything to that? Take away any of those? For like a group that has no
Um,
PTR experience, they're just maximizing their week 1 time.
I would go Ultraxion on Taman.
Okay, yeah. I
That would
should
assume that as
specify
well.
that is 25 man I'm talking about too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So next, Ultraxion. This one, Bloody K Dream. We love this fight. We love this
Yeah,
fight.
it's crazy. It's crazy.
This
So
is
nice.
the best fight.
Yeah.
Found the right one. Yeah, okay. So already we have some things to talk about right now. So first off, this is a fight I would respec full damage spec. Like just have your second spec be like a full damage spec, like no toughness, uh whatever. Like drop like will points, whatever. Just go full dam. Go full dam on your gear. If you're progging this fight, just go reforge. Make sure you got like a full damage reforge and everything. One of the core mechanics of this fight is that your defensive cooldowns last twice as long and have half the cooldown. So it is also a tank swap fight. So you are going to have 100% uptime on Bone Shield. You are going to have pretty close to 100% uptime on Vamp Blood while currently tanking the boss. You're going to have a 24-second wall with a 1.5 minute cooldown. Anytime you need it, which is kind of just one of those things, like use it if you feel like you need it. Your Dancing Rune Weapon. This is the exciting one.
Your defensive ability, of course.
Your defensive ability, Dancing Rune Weapon, of course, because it has that 20% parry on it.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
It's going to have double duration and half cooldown too. So that's going to be up like most of the fight as well. So you're going to have guaranteed Bone Shield up at all times, Vamp Blood up most of the time, 20% extra parry a lot of the time. And then you have a 24-second wall with a short cooldown that you can use if you really need it. So just baseline, your survivability is through the roof. And you can kind of just use that to allow yourself to go very, very offensive because all of your abilities you're used to are just way, way better than normal.
Yeah.
And also, it's a big damage check fight. So any extra damage you can bring to the table is actually huge. This is a fight where many raids are going to wipe on the Berserk timer while they're progging it.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
So when the boss is at 1% and you look at the damage meter and you only did like 30 or 35k DPS as a blood DK, you should be thinking, fuck, I might have just cost my raid the kill by gearing very defensively for that. And that's going to happen. So just don't put yourself in that position. Come in with the mindset, you're going to do as much damage as you can. And you're going to kill the boss. This is going to be good. You're going to top the meter. You're going to be having a great time. And
it's going to be great.
It's such a fun fight.
Yeah, I look forward to this boss on non-race weeks.
Oh yeah,
I see some of my guildies are typing here in chat. I'm gonna wipe you so hard to get a good parse. Oh my goodness, you guys have no idea. No, I'm not. But maybe. Yeah, it's such a fun fight because not only do you have all of those cooldown reductions and uptime increase, you have before, like when you start the fight without that buff. It comes in after a few seconds. So you might think, okay, I might want to delay my Dancing Rune Weapon until I get the buff so that I get the double duration. Because when you get the buffs, all of your abilities, literally all of your defensive abilities, let's put that out there, so not Empowered Rune Weapon, for example, but all of your defensive abilities get reset. So you can on pull use Dancing Rune Weapon, Wall, Vamp Blood. Obviously there's no reason to use Bone Shield because you already have, pre-stacked Bone Shield. And the moment the buff hits after like 6 seconds, all of those get reset. So that is kind of nice. So you start the fight, you Death Strike, Heart Strike, Dancing Rune Weapon, then you do your thing, and then like, oh well, I guess my Dancing Rune Weapon is back. So you pop it back to back, and you have 36 seconds of uptime of Dancing Rune Weapon at the beginning of the fight. You're just like, oh man, I am feeling good right now.
It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah. So someone, Caldan was asking if you drop the tank force proc for this fight as well. That is one thing that you definitely do not do, because that tank force set is so good because of the things that we just talked about. You get naturally 66% uptime on Vamp Blood for the entire fight. And that is 66% uptime for the raid where you have that buff, which will generally be more value to the raid than you going slightly more, damage for those pieces specifically. But, if you throw your stuff into, if you go Girthlack, you go Bone Link and Crash, and throw a cheeky little crit meta gem in for this boss as well. You're then you are more than fine pumping very hard on this boss.
Yeah,
It's also worth keeping in mind that
absolutely.
this boss, yeah, that does not parry. So like if you're going over expertise cap for this fight because you want to pump more damage, you're shooting yourself in the foot a little bit. Better to go crit in that case instead of expertise.
Yeah, I've gotten the question too, does he dodge? He does dodge. So you
Yeah.
do still want the soft cap for expertise.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the 4-piece is just insane here. Toward the end of the fight too, the raid's gonna be taking a ton of damage. So it's very, very valuable for your healers. Like throughout the entire fight, really, but also especially towards the end. And when I was talking earlier too about like how many times I looked at the death log and saw like small overkills on people doing like soak mechanics and stuff, this is one of the fights I'm talking about. So like
Oh yeah.
giving them that
Indeed.
extra HP is huge.
Yeah.
Like the amount of times we had like a unholy DK or warrior or something like that, like die to like their soak on here, it was a lot.
Yeah.
So like give them that extra little bit of HP that can help them live that. It's gonna be big.
The thing is though, you're on holy DK. You should just go blood for this fight and go full
I
strength.
So I haven't seen any logs that actually show that being good. The ones I
Oh yeah,
saw,
I have.
okay, because the ones I had seen, they were doing like 35k DPS, something like that, and like our unholies do more than
That's
that.
not a full DPS in that case. That's something must have been up there. Let me link you a log. Yeah, you can
Okay,
take a look. Let's see. There we go. From Korea. And then, of course, you don't have to worry then about your unholy DKs dying to small overkills on our Twilight. You can certainly soak that just with your AMS as blood.
okay. So I mean, these are just the tanks, right?
No, they're full DPS. Like you have a one blood DK and
Okay,
one feral
wait.
druid tanking as well.
Okay.
So if you go
Oh
into their
wait,
gear,
their
it's
tank
just
did no damage.
yeah, I don't know
Why'd their
what's up
tank
with
do
that.
no damage? What?
This is probably playing some grief build whatever, but yeah,
Okay.
the two blood
Yeah,
DKs
when I
just
see
went.
this is like the damage I expect the tank blood DK to do.
Yeah,
Um
you do
uh
get a pretty like almost full vengeance early in the fight, and then you get full vengeance at the end of the fight. So
okay. Yeah. I mean, these are the only two I've seen do better damage than Unholy as blood. So I don't know. Like I guess it just depends on the player. I think our Unholies are doing 40k ish.
I think that you or I hopping in as with actually proper blood DPS setup would do way more than 40k for sure.
Uh as DPS players?
Yeah,
Like playing it as a DPS. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, because kind of my range on this fight was like 40 to like 45k, depending on the pull, how often you crit and shit like that.
yeah.
So, but there was definitely room for like optimization to go further. But yeah. Okay. So yeah, that's something you can't consider. The only logs I had seen, they were doing less than unholies, so here's a log of Blood's doing more than our unholies do.
Yeah, yeah. I think most people trying it out don't really actually have a proper setup
Yeah,
for
they
it.
might not exactly know what they're doing.
Either not know what they're doing, or like who's running around with full strength gems and proper reforges for that fight specifically and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see. Oh, it went through the whole thing already.
Oh.
I forgot to pause
Yapping too
it.
much. It's
I was
crazy,
like,
huh?
wait, where's the Ultraxion one?
My goodness, it's no wonder these things take 4 hours to do,
Right.
huh?
So also at the beginning, one of the core mechanics you're dealing with in this fight is fading light. Basically, you'll put a debuff on you that has a random duration. It can be really short or it can be pretty long, like 10 seconds would be long, and I think maybe 3 or 4 seconds is the shortest it
It's
can be.
between 4 and 8, so you have 4, 6,
4
and
and
8.
8. Okay.
Are the 3 ones.
So when that's on you, it's this right here. You can see the Fuji debuff. If that expires on you, you just die. You're dead. But if right before it expires, you press your button, you get an extra action button for this fight that takes you into the Twilight Realm. So before it expires, you just need to be in the Twilight Realm. If you're in the Twilight Realm, you immune that instant kill and it takes you back out. So if you feel like you aren't going to be quick enough to like do it fast, then you can go a little bit early. But as a tank, that is a little bit grief because like you're giving your other tank less time the earlier you go in. So they need time both to react to be able to taunt the boss. And also, they may have recently come out of a fading light. And when you come out of fading light, or come out of the Twilight Realm, or I guess it's just fading light. When you come out of the Twilight Realm from fading light, you take 100% increased damage for 5 seconds. So you're gonna see this like big fading light debuff. It doesn't say it on the tooltip. It just says it like makes you do like 100% reduced threat or something like that. But having been one shot by this boss a couple times, I can tell you for sure it increases your damage taken while that's on you.
You do have the debuff as well on your top right after you can see it there.
Oh, is it a different debuff?
Yeah. It's a little looks like a dodge icon type of thing.
No, that is the like fading light one. The tooltip on it just says like reduced threat though.
Oh. Yeah. That's the normal mechanic.
Yeah. So yeah, like that 5-second debuff you get after that, you're gonna take 100% increased damage. So sometimes these fading lights come very quickly. So like say you just came out of a fading light and you have that 100% increased damage taken, and then your other tank gets a 4-second fading light, the quick one, and they go in early, you're still going to have that 100% damage taken debuff, and you need to be taunting. So if that does happen, you need to just press wall to be able to live through that. But ideally, you just wait till like the last second to press your button to immune it. That just gives everybody enough time to do their taunt, have their damage taken debuff fall off. And you should never run into an issue as long as you guys are doing like 1 second or less. You go in on the fading light.
Yeah.
And then for this extra action button, the other time you're going to use it is for the Hour of Twilight. So you're going to be assigned to soak some of them. And Fuji has this nice little thing that tells you if you're soaking or not. So if you're soaking, you're staying out, and all you gotta do is press AMS. That's it. It's gonna absorb so much of it that you'll live.
Yep.
So here you can see I'm up next. Is 4 fire mages that are gonna cauterize it, and then me, I'm just gonna AMS it. So when this happens, I just stay out. If I'm not on this list, though, and the reason you would not be on the list is because you've soaked one previously and you have a debuff that makes it just kill you if you take a second one before that debuff comes off. Then, when Hour of Twilight's happening, you're going to use your extra action button to go into the Twilight Realm to avoid the damage. So those are the two things you're using it on. Hour of Twilight when you're not assigned to soak, and Fading Light 1 second or less before it's going to expire on you.
Yep. It's so it's every third hour of Twilight that you soak. Then I think one thing to keep in mind as well is that the Fading Light buff, right? It gets placed on random raid members, but it's always on the current tank. So you get 3 of these Fading Lights per cycle between Hour of Twilights. So you will always have to go in either once or twice between the cycles. And for the love of God, don't forget to taunt, because that may or may not have happened to either me or the other tank. Depends on if he's watching or not. On multiple occasions where you kind of just you really don't have so much, you don't really have that much to deal with, right? That you kind of just fall asleep and like, oh right, I was supposed to taunt and now a DPS got one shot.
Yeah. Your threat does reset every time you go into the Twilight Realm. So
yeah,
or sorry, just with Fading Light. It's not actually if you use it during an Hour of Twilight. But
yeah,
for a Fading Light Twilight Realm visit, it will remove your threat. So what I've found really helpful here is I just have my code tank Fading Light icon right here. And then my own is going to be right down below. You can add also like a sound that happens when they get it. Just like make one sound for when you get it, one sound for when the other tank gets it. And it makes it pretty easy. DBM, also you can throw in like a countdown for when your Fading Light is expiring. Just little things like that to help you out, because it is one of those fights where like if you get distracted and like look away for a second, maybe you got the short Fading Light and now you're dead. So whatever helps you out, you guys will know like what specific things help you like stay on top of mechanics like that. But
if we have any WeakAuras designers right here, get ready, because we're recording some audio here, so you can use for the packs here. Okay. 5, 4, 3. Use your goddamn ability, you donkey. 1.
Dude, that countdown, that actually sounded like the DBM guy. Are you the DBM guy?
I might have been like 7 years old when that came out, but
You always had that voice though, right? Even at 7.
yeah, since 7. 5, 4, 3. Taunt, you imbecile. 1.
Love it. We got the Riyadi voiceover WeakAuras pack coming out.
I'm free to be commissioned anytime. Yeah.
Another thing, this extra action button, I would just put it on a really good button. Like I in like retail and later versions of WoW, I've always had my extra action button as like Control X, because like it's almost never something like I've had to press like quickly, and it's like such a like not often used thing. But this is a fight where you're pressing it like, I don't know, 15 plus times every pull, something like that. Yeah. And it has to be pretty precise when you're pressing it too. So just put on a really good button. I ended up just going with 4 because I had some issues where it was like not pressing it well on Control X. Like 1 out of 100 times, but at the same time you just kind of like you die if you don't press it on that one. And like 100 times is only what, like 6 pulls. So Yeah, so just put it on a super good button. I ended up putting it on 4 because I still had Icy Touch and Plague Strike as my 3 and 4 from Wrath of the Lich King, and I just hadn't
Mm,
found a need to like change those since then. And so
yeah.
I was just like, okay, I'm just throwing it on 4. Like 4 is a obviously crazy good button. Just throw it on there. We got a great button to press for this mechanic. So that's what I ended up doing. But whatever you decide to do, just put it on a very, very good button, whatever it is.
Yeah, I actually, ironically, I don't know, coincidentally, use X as my bind for it. Um, I could have had a better bind, but that kind of worked for me. And once I got the reps in, on the PTR, that's just super stuck in there. So don't think I've failed that in the last 500 times or pressed it. So works for me.
Yep. You just gotta find what works for you, and that's it.
Yep, indeed.
Any
Yep.
big changes for 10 man?
The change is honestly that the enrage timer is so forgiving.
Mm.
You really don't have to worry about your DPS too much. I think we killed it with like, I don't know, like at least 1 minute left of the enrage time or something like that.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Um, yeah, you can solo tank this on 10 man. There's really no need to during progression. But that's what we were doing for the first night we were in here and doing Ultraxion. We just wanted to try it out. It was a little bit iffy because on the PTR it's hosted in the US, right? We're playing on
Yeah.
EU, so we really wanted to get the portal, whatever you want to call it, management down to be like like at the millisecond, so I could just go in and taunt right away and not pray to God that he didn't have a melee swing in the time where I was inside and just one shot someone else. But that's something that you can play around with later. You can always have your second bloody K or your second bloody K DPS just do full send and be in there to soak up any potential melee swings that happen while you tank everything else.
All right.
Not really needed though.
Yeah. Sounds good. But again, most fun fight for sure. Just full pump. It man is so good. Just dancing root up and up
I've
the
seen a
whole
lot of
time.
people that really don't like the fight though.
Really?
Yeah, but
Like blood decays?
yeah, but the case too. I think it's
Interesting.
mostly the just constant pressing of the ability and like going in and out
Oh,
and
okay.
whatever else that gets annoying. But I like it.
Yeah.
Don't really get why people don't like it. Of course, it's not a very mechanically involved fight. It's very much just you just pump and press a button. Um, but I think that's every raid needs a fight like that
Yeah.
to
Definitely
be
like
fun. I can
the
see that.
full pump fights.
Yeah,
Okay. Uh Blackhorn. Next one.
yeah, yeah,
So this is a fight I would go like full tanky, like Zon'ozz.
yeah,
Um so for this one too, the Feral Druid actually is really sick. We talked a little bit about it earlier
yeah.
with the avoidance, because one of the core mechanics you're dealing with later is going to be uh, a instant attack that can be avoided, and it puts a debuff on you. So it's just very high value to avoid it. Um, the strat we're doing here is Feral Druid actually solo tanks the ads, and I run around soaking as many of these little things as I can. It's rough. It's unfortunate,
Yeah,
but
sure is.
hopefully it won't be a long term thing.
I think it's totally unnecessary too. Like those small things where is like you can let all but like 2 or 3 let past. Like if you soak like 2 or 3 of them, your ship is so healthy for the rest of the fight. So yeah, I don't think it'll be a
Really?
long-term thing.
I think you have to
Yeah,
soak a lot more than that.
I not court. No, it's with all the
Because
pulls that
like
we've done.
even
Like,
with us soaking like crazy, like a lot of times it gets down to like 20%.
yeah, well, I don't know what to tell you. On our 10-man at least, we ended up just
It might
soaking
be different
like
on 10. Yeah.
maybe like 3 or 4 the entire fight. I think even on 25 man, we let so many of them past. Like we don't really pay too much attention to them. We can see how how far down you get here, um, but yeah, it's quite forgiving. Like you definitely don't need to soak as much as you may think on this fight.
See, I would say the exact opposite. I would say you have to soak like a ton
Mm.
of them or it's just gonna die. That was my experience up here.
No.
'Cause, I mean, at this point, we've soaked probably what 75, 80% of them, and ship is half, below half.
Yeah, but now we have just one set of ads left, right? You transition the boss after these are dead. That's a lot of soaks that really didn't need to happen.
I mean,
Of course,
I'm
it's
all
not.
for it. Like that would be great if I don't
Yeah,
have to do this anymore.
yeah, it's definitely
But
not. Obviously, it's
yeah,
definitely better to be on to have some margin for error, of course. But all things considered, the ship is like looking very healthy right now. Um, Definitely over soaked, so to speak. Um, and he'll after this point, you will kill the dragon. You'll transition the boss, and yeah, they won't take any more damage after that point. Each
yeah,
small circle is
it's
around
pretty
3%
small
of
for me.
HP.
It's 27%, right?
27 looks right.
Yeah, yeah. We could for sure done fewer soaks, but I mean, I think we got a very, very high percentage of them, and it's still 27. So like, I don't know. Take out what?
All I'm
How
saying, you
much?
can
How much
definitely
does it go
afford
down? Like four
to go
percent
on.
per? It's
What's that?
like, is it like 4% per unsoaked?
3, yeah,
Something like that.
3%.
3.
Yeah.
Okay. So 9 soaks over the entire fight, or we could have afforded to do 8 fewer soaks the entire fight.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's fewer soaks than 10 month for sure. But all I'm saying is that after week 1, you can probably be allowed to go back and do
That'd be
some
great.
publish if you want.
I would love that. I would love that. Um Yeah, so I mean, if you're doing that job, then yeah, you just kind of run around and soak. If you're taking a solo soak, make sure you AMS for it. Bone
Yeah.
shield should generally be enough, but there's like a damage range on it. It might not be. You can also just vamp blood too. And then for this part, you are basically once you get through those 3 waves of ads, then Blackhorn's going to come down with his dragon. One tank's going to tank each one. You're going to swap every time a tank gets to 2 stacks, generally, of the Devastate. And then AMS this breath if you're tanking the dragon at the time. The dragon's going to leave, what, at 25%? Something like that? 30%? I forget the exact percent, but
Yeah.
yeah, you and the other tank are basically just swapping every 2 stacks, but the Druid is just gonna dodge everything. That's what you love about them on this fight. So
Yeah.
finally they get a stack.
Mm.
And
I
yeah,
feel like at that point, once you have a stack, you might as well taunt swap. Oh, spicy positioning here. I guess it worked if you rotate the raid. What we do is we change positions, right? So when we tank swap, we just um one the person that was tanking Blackhorn goes in front to take the soak
mm,
or the breaths, and then the other tank goes up to the either to the raid or to the other side, so they don't take the frontal. Um, but either way works. Just don't take the frontal ends. the boss at the same time.
Yeah, just also be aware that shockwave in a pull where people are dying, it could potentially target you as a tank if
Yeah.
enough people die. So just be aware of where that's facing if the pull is like going south and you don't have too many people up. Keep in mind that could be a possibility.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, another thing that
mhm.
is a little bit different from how we do it. I think we played a little bit maybe too safe, but we basically don't touch Blackhorn at all when the dragon is down
Okay.
to make sure that he doesn't get vengeance,
Hmm.
um, and just make the tanking a little bit easier.
Yeah, it's
But
crazy. They're turning our mechanic against us. Like
yeah,
we've been loving this vengeance the entire expansion, and that they're like, what if we give a boss vengeance? So every 1% of HP Blackhorn loses, he's gonna do 1% more damage. So keep that in mind. As his HP gets lower, he's gonna get more and more dangerous.
do you think this is punishment because we didn't play Prot Warrior?
It might be. I think Prowler is
Yeah,
actually like potentially kind of sick here because like you have high shield block up time during the time you're actually taking, and
they'll be okay on this fight. Yeah.
yeah, you'll I mean that basically the like most dangerous part is, oh yeah, you'll see I die here too. It was hilarious too because like
Oh,
I'm gonna calm like somebody's like, do we need to use anything? I'm like, no, we're chilling. I'm totally fine. And then like he just like one shots me after that. So here, let's see. We'll go back to
that's
it.
hubris right there.
There's hubris, dude.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. I didn't get, I think I had maybe like 3 total pulls on this part of the fight. Something like that. Like where we had a reasonable amount of people up that we actually got to like kind of do the Blackhorn's the only one left part of the fight. Um, yeah, so here I have no devastates, but keep in mind he is at low HP. So he has like
Yeah.
76% increased damage right now. So despite the fact that no devastates, I do have bone shield up. I've got 20% more parry, but I mean for EHP that's not a factor. Um so
I mean,
here,
you have 50% parry at this point. You know, you parry or you don't.
exactly, yes.
Yeah.
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 Um and yeah, so here I was just like, okay, I got bone shield up. I have no stacks. I feel pretty good. Dead.
It's
uh
crazy.
yeah. So that something to keep in mind at the end of the fight there. Like the damage is just gonna be insane. Uh this is a time like you bone shield's not gonna be enough. Make sure you're like doubling it up. Have like a hand sack to go with it.
Yeah.
Um, you know,
Full vamp.
PS, like whatever you
It's
need.
the
Because like there's not too much left on this boss anyway. The fight's like almost over.
yeah. Um, I will say that you have definitely used your wall and PS a little bit early here in this fight.
Yeah. Yeah, again, that's just kind of a product of like not seeing this too much
Yeah.
and just kind of, you know, trying to play it safe, like make sure we use it. We don't end up in a situation where we die at like 50% because we like didn't use it. But yeah, it one of those fights for sure you'd rather have those big CDs later in the fight because the damage is just ramping as the fight goes on. But
And the Giga Chad Feral Druid takes over and carries
Feral,
the
yeah,
little blood
they
DK
just gotta dodge
Kirishima.
everything. That's all it takes.
Yeah.
And you can also keep in mind too, you can have people like you could have a red or a holy pally bubble taunt, like a devastate. To take that, you can
Yeah.
bop a DPS warrior or DK or whatever to take one. So if you end up in one of those one tank situations, you can just call for DPS and healers and shit to like bubble and bop taunt to let you drop your stacks if you do end up in a one tank situation where you don't have a res for your other tank. And Occasionally you will get unlucky too, and like both tanks will have 2 stacks. You just won't get any avoids for all the devastates. So each tank will
Mhm.
have like 2 stacks, and they'll end up getting a 3rd stack, and that is pretty dangerous because you're taking that 3rd devastate with 40% reduced armor already.
Yep.
So that would be a good time to use cooldowns or to call for one of those bubble or bop taunts to make sure that doesn't happen. It devastate is a it's not like a fixed cooldown though too. So he'll queue it up, and he like won't always use it like right when it's available. So keep that in mind.
Yeah.
It may not go off right when the cooldown comes up. But on Foji, just make sure you're watching that devastate timer, because that's the big damage you're gonna take.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, I mean, it's an armor reduction fight. I mean, I guess this is a really good fight for Klothiani if
Mm-hmm.
you don't really think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
I've found it's always best to just not really think about it. Just
Yeah,
just do it.
that's honestly the bloody key way.
Yeah. And should mention too, this guy has like very little HP. I think he has what, 80 or 90 mil. So like this part of the
Yeah,
fight, once you get down to just him, it's gonna be very quick.
dies really
So
quickly. Yeah.
I mean, even if you do end up in a situation where both tanks die or something, just like try to keep people calm. Make sure they're not all gonna get hit by shockwave or something. They like
Mm.
spread out, and like they can probably do, I would say, like the last 20% of the boss without a tank, maybe 15%. I don't know. Like you could do a
Yeah.
decent percent of this boss without a tank. So
The only
and
real problem is that people will likely run around a little bit wild and
yeah.
getting the AoE resonating, whatever it's called. When the boss is at low
Hmm.
HP and you can't stack up for barrier and stuff like that, it can be
Yeah.
quite dangerous. But yeah, like you said, it's very kiteable, by and large.
And if those like bop and bubble taunts haven't been used at that point too, keep in mind like you can just use those then to like keep the boss stationary for a little bit.
Yeah, dude.
Um and
Evasion tank.
yep. And like a DK, like a DPS DK, they can do like a taunt into a grip to like keep the boss on them for quite a while with a bop on them. And yeah, you got tons of plays. So like this is one of those fights to really, really keep in mind that even if things go very poorly in terms of tanks being alive, there are lots of plays that can be made to make it a kill.
Yeah, I also think it's one of those fights where it's like if you're 24 people alive and you have one combat dress at you know going into phase 4 or phase 2, phase 4 divided by half, yeah. Like when you go into the burn phase, like play it safe, like don't rest that guy, you won't need it. A tank is, it is a possibility that you just get one shot like you did. um and Look at me soaking here, being a good boy. But
Wow.
yeah, just keep that rest for a tank. Just play it safe.
Any major differences on 10?
Taman is honestly exactly the same. Obviously the big difference is the damage incoming profile
Hmm.
is not as rough. It still does slap for sure. I do think I at least play double stam trinket on this boss. Um, but Yeah, there's you play the fight exactly the same pretty much. Um and and kill it.
Should mention too on these ads, since we didn't talk about it. The
Yeah,
physical one,
true.
is it the Slayer? Is that the name? I think it's Slayer.
Yeah.
That one puts a single target stacking dot on its tank physical. It can be bopped off, but I mean, generally I would say bops for like the last phase to like do bop taunts, but you can use it to just get rid of the debuffs there. And then the other tank, the other ad, it does a frontal shadow dot application.
Yep.
So that one, be aware of that and try to not, have that facing toward the raid, getting that on lots of people. That's one. There's definitely a DBM timer for it. It's like degeneration, I think it's called. So you can like watch for that and just make sure you're not facing it towards people during that time.
Yeah, you can AMS the application too.
AMS application too.
Yeah, it's a little bit annoying because sometimes when he does his charge, he'll just stop in the middle of in the middle of running back and cast the cleave. Melees will sometimes get stuck, so I'll just be like, dude, face the mob away. Like, oh, I am. It's not my fault.
I'm trying.
It's not my fault. But yeah, the way that you deal with that mechanic normally, if you don't have if you're not a cock running around soaking projectiles while you're feral druid, just really steps up and takes care of business. Is by you tanking each mob, because there's 3 waves. So you tank one, you tank the Slayer, Dread Slayer, whatever it's called, and then you tank the Elite, and then you tank the Slayer again, and just swap back and forth like that. Let your stacks drop off when you tank the other one. Unless you have an insane amount of dodge, of course.
Yep. Anything else for that? Otherwise, we can move on to Spine.
Yeah, no, I think just a little showcase here of how we do our tank swaps instead of like what you were doing as well. So when I tank, I just go in front and we tank swap like that back and forth. Keep the position of the Drake at the same at all times. You don't have to worry about either the frontal or the tail swipe on the raid at any point. Probably a better idea for a non-organized group. Obviously 25 man you can, or in a guild you can get away with doing some stuff that you might not be able to get away with in a pug where people are not as organized in the group.
All right. And this part's gotta be like basically the same, I think, right?
Yeah, it's all the same. Just have some decent defenses rolling when you have scary overlaps, and just tank swap back and forth when the stacks drop.
Easy.
Easy
All right.
peasy.
Now for Spine of Deathwing.
Yep. Did you kill it yet, or?
We didn't. Our final 2 pulls of PTR were a 1% and 2% wipe, but I did throw on one of them where I lost my target on the tendon, and I was like looking around in the raid for like things to pick up off healers and didn't notice I had lost my target and lost a little bit of damage. So that was unfortunate. But yeah. So by the end of this fight, I don't know how it was for you, but I was playing with like 1 FPS by the end. And like the FPS gets like progressively worse like as the fight goes on. And I also by the end I'm nameplate capped too. So like not all the ads on the screen actually have nameplates attached to them. So it becomes very, very important to just have like target macros like as the fight goes on. And
it's so annoying as I'm on warrior duties, right? And it's so annoying at some points where you're just like, do I have to click the actual like model? And am I sure I'm getting it right? And I ideally want to tank or take some bloods off our third tank, because it's a 3 tank angle for 25 minutes at least, most guilds. And then I have to make sure look at my actual HP frames as well to make sure that I'm not tanking or taking blood that's that I'm not supposed to. So yeah, that's definitely annoying. Kill an
Yeah,
epic tap, yeah. I
it
can I
it's an
believe that
annoying
is.
fight. Yeah, for like reasons beyond just like the regular mechanics. It's just like things like being limited on nameplates and things like that. And
Yeah.
FPS. Hopefully the FPS issues fixed for launch. Fingers crossed.
I thought with
Um,
that crazy new supercomputer of yours, you'd be able to handle that.
dude, I thought so too. So like, I mean, if I don't cap my frame rate, which I do,
Mm.
I would have like 300 to 400 FPS in raids. Obviously, I cap it to like my monitor refresh rate, but it like literally it goes to single digit FPS on this fight. It's
That's
so
rough.
bad.
That's rough.
It's actually what I used to play on for like regular raids on the old PC. it was it was so
No,
bad.
I know that. Yeah.
Um, so there's a few macros you're gonna want to have for this fight. I can talk more about the like bloody case of it. Riani can give some advice on the like prot warrior kiting part for sure. Um, so for just right out the gate, you want a cancel parachute macro. I just put this on my heart strike macro. And so I just press that right when you come in. You want to make sure you're able to cancel your parachute because you don't want to just be slowly falling to the ground and not being able to do anything. You're
Yeah,
gonna,
our rogue he didn't do that when he shadow stepped and
yes, yeah,
flew off the side.
yeah. There are some times you're gonna see your rogues just die from shadow step on this fight.
Oh.
And it's pretty great.
Yeah.
So at the beginning here, you're killing these three corruptions. Each time you kill one, it's gonna spawn an amalgamation. And we want to just get rid of all three of these. So we're just picking these up, coming over to this, and this little wound on him is gonna like grip you. And when he rolls when the whole raid is like together on the same side. So you're getting gripped into this thing so that when he rolls, you don't get thrown off. But the amalgamations will get thrown off. So we want to just get rid of those. We just want to have one of these guys. So next, as a tank, you're going to run away from the raid over here for the debuff. There's a debuff that healers are like dispelling throughout the fight. And it can turn into a different debuff that actually gives you a damage reduction buff for the rest of the fight. So the tanks are going to come over here and try to get that buff. I actually thought I was
Three
tracking the
buffs.
buff, but was not tracking the buff here. So we want to, let me just show that again so you know what to actually do here. So when you run up here, you're looking for this yellow buff. You'll see I get a few of them. And so we have that one. So now, once I have this, I should be running over here. Because otherwise, the dispels from the other tanks, they can get put onto me. And then I could just have multiple of these yellow ones, and it could accidentally get dispelled off me if I also get the other one. So at this point, I should be over here to get away. See there, it actually got dispelled. We want that to like time out so it gives us the perma buff. So right now I do not have it. I will get it later though. But that's what you're trying to do there is just get that little yellow debuff. You're gonna move over here, and then the other tanks should hopefully get theirs too. And yeah, it's 20% damage reduction per stack for the rest of the fight. And typically you'll have like 2 of those on you. So you'll have 40% damage reduction the whole fight.
You get 2 stacks by one.
Oh,
So
it
it's
just always gives
40%
2?
right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. It seemed like it was always giving me that, but reading it I thought I was just getting lucky.
Oh.
Okay, so then from there, once the tanks get their free little damage reduction buffs, You can take this Amalg in a few spots. Basically, it should just be in the middle somewhere. It can be closer to the raid if you want. This worked for us, having the Bloods just slightly to the side of it and having this away from the corruption enough that Cleave wasn't hitting it. It's really
Mm.
important that no extra damage happens to that corruption. You really just want only the expected damage to happen to it. People are gonna damage it to end the grip. It's gonna grip, which like stuns random people in your raid, and X amount of damage has to be done for it to release a grip, or it can be just killed if it's low. So we really don't want it to take a lot of damage because then it's gonna spawn in a Amalg and a new one's gonna pop out. We really just want one Amalg ever, like during this part. Every time one of these corrupted bloods dies, they're gonna leave behind a little residue on the ground. And the residue slowly creeps towards these little wound openings. If it gets inside, it just like despawns and it's gone. It's not usable anymore. Foji, from what I could tell, does not count if they despawn. So it might tell you you have like 9 residues, but if 3 of them went into the hole here, you really only have 6. So keep that in mind. And you drag the Amalg over the residues to pick them up. Each one it gets increases its damage done and attack speed. So we want to wait till the last moment to pick these up if we can, because otherwise it's just doing way more damage for no reason. And when it gets low, we want to pick up 9 of them. Once it has 9 stacks, it's gonna get was it burning nucleus or something like that, and it'll get like a big fire shield around it. And when it's killed in that state, it'll do like a nuclear blast, which when next to this little armor plate will open it up and let us attack the tendon. There's a tendon on each side that have separate health pools. So you want to make sure you're opening the same side each time. Typically, in a go, you will be doing 2 openings of the tendon. I've never really seen people ever do 3. So 2 is just kind of the typical. Eventually, I'm sure we do 1 once we outgear this.
Yeah.
But you open the tendon twice to kill it. And so you just want to make sure that both times you open it are on the same side. Otherwise, you'll have like this side on 50%, and then you'll open up this 100% side, and it's just over.
Oh yeah.
So then we'll watch that. So I'm collecting here. We get our 9, we kill. We want this to be very low HP so that it just dies, because it's doing raid damage while it has that up, and it's doing a lot of damage to us as the tank. So just make sure it's low, so it basically instantly dies and starts casting that once it gets all 9. So we're going to be pumping dam here on the tendon as much as we can. As we talked about before, Dancing Rune Weapon does not work on the tendon. So we're going to be using that on the Amalgs. And it's important to have a Burning Tendon target macro to make it very quick to target it. Mine is just target Burning Tendon, cast Outbreak. So like just hit that, get the Outbreak on there instantly, and start pumping. The other target macro you should have is a target Hideous Amalgamation macro. And it's just kind of a good optimization in general, but later in the fight, this will become essential when you're nameplate capped and it's very laggy and very hard to target things. So for me, I just have this on shift 1. My taunt is 1. So I just go shift 1, 1, that targets the Amalg and taunts. And then I throw a death coil at it, and then I just keep hitting the burning tendon. That's enough threat that it is stuck to me. And then when it gets close, make sure it gets hit with a Heart Strike and just Heart Strike cleave, and it's locked in on you. So this is our second opening, and we're watching that corruption. When that dies, we know shortly after that the Amalg is going to spawn. So now we taunt it, we death coil it, it comes over to us, just reposition so our Heart Strikes hit it, and then just keep it on you. Once you kill that tendon, that whole plate will be removed. And then you can move up. There's going to be another set of these corruptions. We're going to do what we did at the start of the fight, where we kill the corruption, spawn the Amalgs, and then we all just group up and let it roll, and they all just fly off. On Foji, you can move a little bit early. When that circle is green, you're in the grip, you're good to go. Once it turns red, you no longer need to be in the grip. The ads are still going to be up. The roll won't have like actually happened yet, but you're like locked into it, like already being safe there. So as soon as you see that turn red, you can just move out of there. And then
one thing I want to point out while we're here in this part as well is I don't think this at least this attempt didn't do it very well, but the whole thing with the bloods, we'll talk more about the bloods a little bit later, but these never ever despawn. They just keep coming out. They keep coming out, and when you kill them, they create this little fiery blood on the ground that keeps creeping back to the hole. And once it's in the hole, then it reforms and comes back with full HP. So you never get rid of these by killing them. You just keep getting more and more and more, because not only do the old ones get respawned, they actually keep spawning from the holes themselves. And so when we went into the phase there where we want to roll those guys off, a good opportunity to clear out some of those bloods that you have is by with the bloods that were dead, take your alchemation and run over some of those bloods to pick them up on the mob, because he picks up to 9. 9 is obviously when he does his explosion. But if you just pick up like 5 of them and roll off, then that's 5 bloods that are gone forever.
Yeah.
So if you have the opportunity to do that, you definitely want to try to pick up some bloods before rolling.
Yep, absolutely. So like you can see at the back, there's maybe is one left over from that that could have been picked up and
I think
taken
there were
out
like
with
3 or
that
4
roll.
up at the back there earlier, but yeah.
Yep. So another thing to watch there. And then you're kind of just going through the same things over and over again. So we're just pumping down the Amalg. And also as a Bloody K, I'm watching the nameplates. So when these are targeting like healers and mages and stuff, I'm trying to taunt them in to help out our warrior, so they aren't just beating on them. And then he'll eventually get through out with his Blood and Thunder. And he'll be good to
And
go.
warrior obviously has infinite taunt, so he shouldn't have to worry about that.
That too, yes. Yeah.
Some good tendon pump in this
this
group.
one, I don't know what I was doing here, sleeping on that. Literally just have to press target, Amalg, macro, taunt it. I don't know. I think it's just the product of having slept like 4 hours in 3 days at this point.
I feel you.
I was not doing too well. Still getting over being sick, but man, it was rough.
Yeah, no, I had a reason running with the bad flu, way worse than the COVID had back in the 2020. And I was trying to raid while still sick, and that was a terrible experience.
It's not good. Yeah.
No.
Just the lack of sleep and crazy things happen.
Oh man, does your warrior have body and soul? Oh man, what a lucky guy. So I guess you have a holy priest in your
scooting.
group.
He's scooting.
Yeah.
Here's the damage reduction buff too, by the way. I do have that now, so even if you don't get it at the very beginning, you'll probably get it later. But do try to, move at the correct time at the beginning there.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's kiting a ton of them. It's getting laggier and laggier. And we're just trying to taunt whatever we can here while we kill the Amalg.
Yeah. And right now, obviously, you have your feral druid taunting out a few of them, trying to pick up whatever is going on the healers and whatnot.
Yep.
So you can get some bloods to kill on the amalgamation here, so you can actually trigger the tendon.
And these are going to be the kinds of times where that 4-piece vamp blood is going to be helpful. Those are kind of the big raid damage parts.
Yeah, it's worth keeping in mind that while that explosion looks like it has a radius, the damage, pulsing damage from it does not have a radius. It is only the actual, explosion that, one-shots you if you stay within the radius.
Yeah.
So you can vamp blood for every single one of those during the entire fight.
So yeah, just make sure you pop in your dancing rune weapon on cooldown to burn through these Amalgs. It is really important to get them low as quick as possible so you have a better timing with your fiery grip happening at the same time you want to open this up. And we can skip ahead just a little bit, I think. So this is where it gets really crazy. There are like absurd amounts of ads out. You can see I can no longer like see individual nameplates anymore. You can see how laggy it is too with like my cursor WeakAura.
Yeah.
It's like literally lagged and it like catching up
Oh
there.
no.
Yeah, so we actually die here randomly. Should mention too that this debuff you're getting, that stacks, it's reduced HP. So at this point I have 30% reduced HP. But that would have been a good time to get the PS or Prot was sometimes using it, so I was like trying to kind of save it for him, but at that point I should just call for it if I really think I'm gonna die like that.
Taking some amalg damage in the back.
Yeah. I mean, I have so little avoidance, like it's unlikely to matter, but for sure you want to take as many hits from the front as you can.
Yeah.
But close one there. Just survive a little bit longer. We got it. But yeah, Riani does not have a public spine. So I'll just like play through mine while he's talking about any intricacies of the Prot Warrior blood kiting side of this.
So sad. I hate not being able to stream.
It's all good,
but
good.
It's all over soon. Thursday. Yeah, so here in the beginning of the fight, you really don't have to worry too much. Like even the first two plates, it's really a quite chill fight for an ad tank. Obviously, Warrior is the best off tank by far, and I will not have any copers in the chat saying that that Prot Paladin is better. I will not have it. If you come in here and say Prot Paladin is better for kiting, you get banned right now.
Banned. Straight to jail.
Straight to jail. 100%. 100%. For kiting, but that's it. No, it is not better for kiting. Oh, you mean Prot Warrior? Yeah, Prot Warrior is better for kiting. Yeah. Good comms. Good comms. So you obviously want to have vigilance on the blood decay, and you want to taunt all of the ads and keep them kind of where they are right now. We do it a little bit differently. We try to position the amalgamation between where the ads die and a pool, so that the amalgamation can soak up some of those bloods that would maybe otherwise have gone back into the spawn point. And we let the amalgamation have around 3 stacks just naturally before we start soaking, because the incoming damage from the amalgamation is super low at that point. And we just always ensure that we don't have those bloods respawning again. We also did it a little bit differently with the amalgamations in this phase. What I would do, or what I did and will do, is picking up the amalgamation as the off tank here, and just letting the other DK go to town on the tendon, while he would taunt 1 or 2 bloods at the beginning of the so that's the tendon is about to pop off, and then he would just full DPS while I take care of literally everything else. Being a Giga Chat warrior, you can just carry your raid on your back. And here, this is where you start really valuing that vigilance once you're in the second kind of plate after the first plate is done. Now you're just standing at the back here, and you are facing your back towards the plate, and you are taunting like crazy, just taunting everything that comes up. Use your rend, use your blood and thunder, thunderclap, spread it, and use cleave and demoralizing roar. Obviously, or shout. It's called a warrior. Since your DK will likely not be spreading diseases to the blood, so you just want to have that 10% damage reduction, and you want to have the 20% attack speed reduction from your thunderclap as well. You want to be a little bit careful, of course, with the bloods, because they do explode and do raid-wide damage when they die. It's a quite small amount, but if a lot of them die at the same time, especially during bad overlaps, either during grips, these corruptions, they will do a grip that targets specific raid members, and the corruption needs to take 20% HP before it breaks it. Or there will also be these healing debuffs that will be placed on the raid, that you need to heal up a few 100,000 for it to go away, and they can't get healing until that healing debuff is gone. So if you have too many bloods going off at the same time, you'll kind of just be killing your raid, and it's not ideal. Here, honestly, in second phase, you just face tank it. It's they're in the third phase right now on the screen, but in the second phase, you just kind of face tank it. You want to utilize your rally on the tendons being exposed, or when the amalgamation is about to explode, so you can reduce or make the raid more healthy. And as you're about to roll as well, that's generally a time where there's a lot of incoming damage. You have a lot of adds up, especially during the third phase. It's a good idea to shockwave the ads as you're about to roll, so you don't have to deal with the damage from the bloods because they are, obviously indeed stunnable. As you get to the third phase, that's really when you start, to become a kiter. And Woozy, you asked if will kiting trap be a thing on Tenma? Not really. You will just be kind of tanking it head on Tenma. However, there is a possibility for you to, as a last case, like hurrah, get the, if it becomes too much, to just kite for the last little bit and try to pick up any ads. But on 25-man, however, you certainly do want to kite. And for now, you won't have to kite forever. I think kiting will only really be a thing for the first few weeks. For now, you want to have 3 tanks. You want to have 1 feral. That is quite important because that feral will be responsible for a lot of tendon damage, and you will need that damage for sure. So that feral will now go into bear form during the 3rd phase, and he will be starting to take out just a few ads at a time from the warrior, some of the low ones, so you can get the bloods to die close to amalgamation, and so the tank can pick up the residue, right, and get the stacks and explode the plates, and you really don't want to keep taunting from the warrior because there'll be so many blood spawning that it's kind of your responsibility as the feral druid to pick up some of the ads or most of the ads that keep spawning at this point. Your warrior obviously wants to pick up as much as he can as well, but it becomes really hectic doing the whole kiting circle and trying to build threats on the new ads that spawn as well. But you do what you can and taunt out what you can as well with with vigilance whenever you're running by, like he is now. Honestly, the kiting is, like, once you've done it a few times, is really easy. That bloods are really slow, and assuming that you actually run on the outside of the back. So you see how he kind of has these like grip points where you get gripped? You actually want to get gripped as you're kiting the ads. Might seem counterintuitive. Like, why do you want to get gripped? Well, it's because you want to take a big loop around the back and make sure that the ads come at you from a straight angle. It's really hard to do this without, I can't really. I want to have some visual aids as I'm doing this, but it's, but I'm hoping that this will make sense. Is as you're kiting the Usas, you want to do a big loop around the back and actually get slowed by the grips from the tendons, because that will be the best way for you to kite, and you will never have them really catch up to you. You can always shockwave them when they come close to gain distance. You can always leap if you need more distance, but generally you won't really need anything because you have 100% uptime of your windwalk buff, so that's 15% movement speed, and the ads are just naturally slow. Combine that with stuns, with charge to the ads that are right here, with intervene, with intercept, with heroic leap. You can call for a grip from a priest if you need to. Man, you just have it so nice. You have it so nice. And so the only real difficult part of this fight, of this portion here, it's not necessarily kiting the ads. It's trying to pick up the ads that spawn while you're kiting as well and keeping that threat. So some things that I found helpful is to actually spec into the heroic throw cooldown reduction as a warrior to just grab a taunt and do a heroic throw, and then you kind of set from that point. Because once they get into the whole army of bloods that you have following, you will just naturally spread your rend with thunderclap on those ads and keep the threat.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I really wish that I could visualize it better here, but I hope that kind of makes sense. What I really wanted to communicate with the kiting is that don't be afraid to make the big loops. You won't fall off unless you're stupid, which of course can happen. Of course, it might have happened to me at one point.
Oh no,
I may or may not. I
can't confirm.
um, but yeah, do not be afraid to make the big loops around the back, and don't be afraid to actually get slowed by the grips from on the back.
Okay,
Indeed.
sick. Yeah, that's huge. It sort of seems like it's similar to the Neff kiting in phase one, or phase one. Um, just like once you get the practice, it'll be pretty
Yeah, for
pretty
sure.
easy.
Yeah. Yeah, Neff attacking became very easy once you got a grasp on it.
Yep. Anything else for that one? I think that was a really good rundown for the kiting side of it for sure.
Yeah, someone asked, do you ever do a barrel roll to reset if you can't handle them anymore? So the bloods never gets thrown off, right? So if you wanted to, like, okay, we're in phase 3 now, we have a lot of bloods. Let's do a roll and throw them off so that we
Yeah.
can continue the fight. No, they never get thrown off, and the only way that you can reduce the amount of bloods that you have is by loading up the bloods on an amalgamation and then rolling. Um, so yeah, that's that you will be able to get a few of them off that way, but you would never like actively like, okay, we have too many bloods right now, we need to roll to reduce it.
And kind of like you were talking about too, like you kind of just get in a rhythm, and it doesn't really matter how many like
Yeah,
bloods you have chasing you, like you're gonna be able to
indeed,
handle them.
indeed. Yeah, the amount of bloods that you have are pretty much irrelevant. The only thing that will um, be a bit of a you know, you can't get too many bloods, but that's more of like there are so many bloods spawning that the third tank is getting overwhelmed and can't keep getting them off the healers and the DPS all the time. Because you as a kiting tank have a really hard time picking up like every new ad that spawns.
Yeah.
Certainly. Are ferals doomed on kiting? Not really. I honestly think that feral would be actually a kind of fine kiter. The only thing that's a problematic with the feral druid is that you have a limited amount of abilities to like taunts and whatever else to pick new ones up. But on Tema, for example, feral druids are great for just tanking them head on, and then if you really need to at the end, you can roar away, stampede roar away, and start kiting quite easily. If you really need to as well, you can have a second weapon in your bag with Windwalk on it and throw it on when it's you get into phase 3 if you want to.
Nice. Anything else, or ready for madness?
Is there anything else? You kind of mentioned earlier that a good trinket for tendon damage is the rotting skull.
Yeah, on use strength trinket, 1.5 minute cooldown for anybody who doesn't know what that
Yeah.
is from Valor.
Yeah.
So it lines up with all
That's
the tendon openings.
indeed. You will have to demacro it from your dancing room weapon because dancing room weapon does not work
Yes.
on a tendon, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other macro thing I forgot to mention. Make sure you take that off. Take
Yeah.
that and berserking off. Your dancing rune weapon, because you do want berserking
Indeed.
for the tendon.
Indeed. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else. I have a few cheesy tech things that I'm gonna be using on the warrior, but I'll have to wait with talking about those until after Thursday.
All right. Sounds
Oh,
good.
yeah.
All right, so last one, I didn't do madness at all. So this one is really just all you.
Oh,
And we don't have your POV either. So we are watching the Dream Paragon OG.
Yep. Yeah. It is what it is.
It's just the way it goes, dude.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So first things first, it is a very underwhelming end of expansion fight. It's not a bad fight, in my opinion. It's actually a quite defined fight, but not as an end of the expansion fight. um, felt very underwhelming killing it, and definitely not like if something compared to killing the Lich King for the first time or something like that. Even in our classic version. Teasing us with
Oh, yeah.
secret tech. Yeah. I'm teasing you, Skjold. But yeah,
All right.
do you have any experience with it at all, or
No. Well, I mean, literally my only experience is like LFR back in the day and like soloing it many times on retail just to
fill them out?
get them out. Yeah. That's literally it. So I'm familiar with like, what everything looks like and like jumping to platforms and everything like that. But
Yeah.
yeah, the nitty-gritty I definitely don't have experience with.
Yeah. So TLDR on this fight, you definitely want to be tanky because a lot of your damage comes from a spell called Spell Weave, which is basically a whenever you do an AoE ability, you get an extra type of AoE ability through one of the bosses. You have the aspects giving you different buffs. And so let's just start here with the first platform. We'll get to all that later. So you start on the first platform. That will always be the dream platform. And so you have this ability that you see in the middle of the screen that reduces your damage taken by 50%. This ability you only have for this platform because after you kill this platform, the buff fades. And it'll be quite important for tanks to actually use this ability because you have a big tank buster on this fight called Impale. And Impale, unmitigated, does like 1.6 million damage, 25 months, something like that.
Decent.
Quite a chunk. Quite a chunk. And you definitely want to play around your defensive cooldowns to accommodate for that. Here on this platform, you are fine because you have all the buffs and whatever else to just use your Bone Shield, Vamp Blood, and Dream ability. But because the Dream ability is like a shield wall, it's 50% reduced damage when you're under the effect. And you get 2 impales per those big ads. The big every single ad in this fight is called corruption something. So I forgive me for not knowing the name of all of these ads on this fight. But basically the big
Corrupted
tentacle,
finger.
the
Corrupted
corrupted
tentacle.
finger, um, is so the big guy that comes out. You get one of them per phase, and they will do 2 impales each. If you are about to get a third impale, your damage is crap, and you kind of need to figure out some other aspects of your raid before starting to progress here. Then you have a parasite that spawns as well. That is it spawns on a random raid member. It kind of gives a debuff, and then after a while, they will explode to do damage to anyone that's nearby and leave behind an ad called a parasite. And that ad needs to be focused down like super quickly, and ideally you want to stack it with the big ad as well for the first one at least. You see kind of it's on the screen right now, flailing about some small little parasites there. And if you don't kill that one quickly enough, it will do a big explosion to anyone in its radius. And the more HP it has, the bigger the explosion is as well. So you see how the split is right now? They have like the entire melee group split out on the side. That's because the big tentacle does a frontal type of thing. It slams down on everyone it hits. And so you want to have your raid kind of split into different sections so not everyone gets hit at once, but you don't really want to spread out either. You just want to make sure that you don't have everyone get hits at the same time by it. Then you'll have a little meteor come in, and that meteor really needs to be killed before it reaches the ground. There is a little time swirly on the ground, and if the and while the projectile is flying through, it is kind of like slows down while it's in that zone. So it will come in really, really quickly, and then it will slow down once it gets into the zone. And after it's dead, it will. I don't think it's actually the killing of. Well, I know it's not the killing of the projectile that spawns it, but it happens to line up that when the projectile is, I can't remember what it's called. I was
The
doing this for,
Elementium spike or something like that.
yeah, Elemental Bolt.
Bolt. Yeah.
Yeah. Once it dies, there will spawn a bunch of regenerative blood on the ground. And these are just ads. I think it's like 8 or something like that, maybe 8 to 10, something like that. That can be tanked and have a rather small health pool. The only crux is once they go to 100 energy, they get full health again. So you need to kill them before they go to 100 energy. And that energy bar keeps ticking up like a lot. So you want to find a good window to have everyone just AoE them down. In combination with that spell weave effect that I was talking about earlier, that you get from one of the aspects, increasing your AoE by a lot. So even like if you're a warrior, like using Thunderclap is gonna like do way more than just the actual damage from the Thunderclap.
Mm-hmm.
And while you tank the bloods as well, you have a stacking debuff that's like just keeps ramping up, and that damage is very manageable at first, but it becomes very, very, very high the longer those ads are up. And it's not really like you can tank swap either because you have quite a lot of them. So you need to have, maybe if you're a warrior, you could do it. If you just vigilant spam, but it's not like you can tank swap as a double bloody K whatever. And so you want to find a window that's where you can AoE them down, and where you don't keep them up long enough for the tank to just fall over from the stacks. I will say Bloody K is very good at handling it because obviously AMS. So
we love AMS.
Yep. But it definitely does still hurt over time. There is a second parasite spawn that will be lining up fairly well with when you want to kill the bloods. So you would generally just bring the bloods on top of the parasite that you will spawn in this kind of like little time zone. You'll bring in the ads, the regenerative bloods, and when they're in this time zone, they gain energy at like half speed. So once they're in the little time zone, you have more time to actually AoE them down.
Oh, okay.
And then it's just kind of you just kind of hit the tentacles. There's really no mechanic to that phase until you get to the third platform. We'll talk about that a little bit in a bit. But you just attack the arm. Like you have about a minute of just attacking this arm with nothing else going on, nothing being tanked. It's like don't be afraid to like use your ghoul and just send your ghoul on every single platform and dancing rune weapon and whatever else. Especially because the one of the aspects, or the boss, I guess, will cast Cataclysm, aptly named, of course. And during this Cataclysm cast, you will do double damage to the boss. So obviously, like if you're thinking about using dancing rune weapon and you see Cataclysm happening in 5 seconds, maybe hold on to that for a little bit, because you have taking AoE damage going on, so you will have vengeance while you're using dancing rune weapon, even if you're not tanking. So you can definitely do some big numbers on the tentacles. There, I was looking through some logs between me and my other tank, and there were a few million damage of difference between the two, and I think it primarily comes down to just optimizing cooldowns and damage, whatever else for that phase. Yeah.
Okay.
So when you're on the third platform and you're attacking the kind of hands or whatever you want to call them, wings that he has on the ground, then they will spawn. Well, actually, it will spawn in the first through the fourth platform. There will spawn these little man, I should have had some little cheat sheet up here while going through this. But here we go. Glistening corruption or something like that. And on the first and second platform.
Corruption to everything.
Corruption to everything, indeed. They get AoE down by the Drake that's behind you, so you don't have to touch them. They increase the damage taken the longer they're up by like 5% per stack or something like that. But it stacks up really, really quickly. But on the third platform and the fourth platform, you actually have to like swap to them. And you have to single target them as well. They don't die to AoE or anything like that. So you have to actually swap over. You can hard strike a little bit. I'm not sure if it goes on the tentacle and the main target, or if it's actually spreads to different targets that you're fighting as well. Haven't really been able to confirm that with the logs and whatever else. But yeah, you actually have to single target them down.
I'll be right back really quick. Just keep talking though. I'll keep
Yeah.
the video playing.
All right. So the whole kind of thing with these the thing that is for us tanks the big thing to worry about from phase platform 1 to 4 is really the big tentacle, the impale, and you will need a robust defensive cooldown rotation to handle that. um your wall will almost be up for every single one of them, but you will need to bolster that up a little bit with some potential rallies, some potential sacrifices, some potential PS, and whatever else to actually live it towards the later stages. Um, I think at one point I have like this is necessary, but it just happens to have to line up this way. I have Bone Shield, Vamp Blood, IBF, PS, and I stand in a barrier. A little bit overkill. I'm really not taking any damage at that point when I have all of those cooldowns. But if we can use it, might as well, right? Might as well, because there's really quite a while before you start taking damage after that point again. Because you don't actually take a lot of damage in the first portion of the last phase. Um, the fourth platform is really the dangerous one. Like you might think that the portion we're in the fight right now, when Deathwing comes down with his face and you have this kind of burn phase, that would be the point where you use your lust. Uh. It is not. It is not. You have a pretty nasty overlap on the last platform because you have no time zone, little time delay thingy on the last platform. So that means that the projectile, the Elementium bolt, I think that was it.
Getting the
Uh,
names down.
yeah, just absolutely comes in and wrecks you right away. Because in every other phase, if that thing hits the ground, then it's a wipe. It's over. And it doesn't deal less damage on the later platform. If anything, it deals more because you've lost your 20% HP buff at that point. So somehow you have to manage that. And the way that you do that is by sending all of your cooldowns into the big tentacles that spawned, and to as quickly as possible after the projectile has hit the ground and just really like blown up the raid. Um, let's see here. I think it's about to come in soon. Yeah, let's play the last platform here. So the projectile will come in. You need to use pretty much all of your raid defenses at that point. We're talking AMZs, we're talking barriers, we're talking links, we're talking rallies, we're talking raid vamp blood, we're talking whatever you want to throw into the mix. And assuming you have every cooldown in the book, you will live it. But then you need to make sure that you finish off all of the other dangerous aspects of the fight as well. You want to kill off the big tentacle, because the big tentacle is still slamming down on the raid. You want to actually kill the bolt as well, because not only does it, actually reach the ground and do its big
Here it
AoE,
is right
but you have
here.
to but you have
Yeah,
to,
bolt
there we
going
go.
down.
It just blows up the raid pretty much. But then you actually have to make sure that you kill the bolt as well. And then you'll have the ads that spawn. And at this point, it's pretty chill at this point, honestly. But the problem is now this as well that you have no time zone. You have to get down the bloods without the reduction in energy gain. It's honestly not too bad, but it can be can be quite annoying, especially if you have like 1 or 2 or 3 that heals. Because basically the more of the ads you have, the more damage you do as well, because of that spell weave effect when you do AoE damage. We found that this portion, this platform, was honestly pretty rough with the like soft and rage timer that you have with Cataclysm. Um, and so you really want to make sure that you are pumping some big damage into the tentacle here, and maybe even dancing room weapon and an IBF, or not IBF, empowered room weapon at this point. Um, but yeah, now there's nothing dangerous left. It's just killing down the corrupted whatever blistering tentacles that spawn, and then killing off the target before the corruption or the cataclysm cast ends.
Okay.
Because of course, if the cataclysm ends, then it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys play around with Hunter Feign Deathwing, the Impale at all?
Not a hunter thing, death thing, but we did try some like things that people have been doing on the private servers on the PTR, and a lot of the things like bopping impale and stuff like that did not work. Um, you can soak with shadow priests if you want, but it's too messy to be worth it on 25 man.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a 10-man thing if you want to try your hands at solo tanking. Then you can just have your raid move away and be Shadow Priest be the one that's the
Yeah.
closest and dispersion it. But that's really maybe more of a 10-man thing. I don't think it'll be necessary.
Okay. Plenty of cooldowns to cover all the impales, just baseline for the
Indeed.
tank. Okay.
Indeed. We especially on 25 man at least. I really don't I haven't been able to progress it on 10 man. But it also hits for less on 10 man, so you
Yeah.
can mostly cover it yourself on 10 man.
Okay. And for this final one where you are fighting Deathwing's face, half of
Yeah,
Deathwing's
so
face.
it's not going down easily. Um, Basically, this portion is supposed to be like kind of the big push, and it's like super hectic, and it's the final moments of the cataclysm. We must kill it. The culmination of the expansion right here, and it's really just another ad phase. So we have 3 different ads that spawn at this point. One of which being these kind of small, these small tentacles. They'll spawn quite a lot of them, and you're just kind of back to AoEing them down. And they'll do a spell called Shrapnel, and which really hurts. Like it will one shot any DPS it targets. However, in this phase, you have all of your abilities back that you lost during the other platforms. So you have your AoE abilities with Spell Weave, but you also have the Dream ability that you see being used. Well, it's a little bit desync, but he just used it on my screen at least, which reduces your damage taken by 50%. So you want to use that when you're targeted by shrapnel, and you want to use it at like 1 second left, because there's quite a big possibility that you would just that you would use it if you use it early, but then the ad would die, and then you get targeted again. But now you have now you don't have now you have a cooldown on
Mm-hmm.
your defensive ability. So you want to try to time it to be as late as possible, and then if your ad dies, you don't use the ability.
What kind of damage is it? Is it physical? Could you call for an emergency bop if you did like accidentally use it?
I think it's physical.
Okay.
I haven't tried bopping it. For a tank, you don't really need to use anything for it. You might
Yeah.
as well use the ability, but you can definitely tank it just natty as a tank.
The ability also it reduces damage taken by 50%. Does it make you unable to like use actions during it, like the Hour of Twilight one?
No, this is
Okay.
basically just a shield wall.
It's just a
You can
wall.
use
You can
your
use it. You can move around everything. Okay.
indeed, indeed, indeed. And then the second ads that spawn here are these bloods that they don't do any ability, but they start just creeping towards the mouth of Deathwing. And
Right here.
once, yeah, let's see, right there, they're AoEing them down. And if they reach Deathwing, they heal him for quite a bit, quite a bit. So you never want to have them go through. They are slowable, but they can be quite rough to get down before they reach Deathwing. So having some decent rotation with the blast wave from fire mages and traps from hunters and stuff like that will definitely be very necessary. Um, and the last ads are these big ads that are the tankable ads. You want to have one tank on each of them. Um, I kind of, I've only really been in this phase like 3 times. Uh, so because it's a rather easy phase once you get there. It's honestly just about getting over that fourth platform that's difficult, and then of course hitting like beating the enrage timer once you get to this phase. But they basically do a debuff um, on the tank that hurts for a ton, um, unless they are because it keeps stacking on you. But if you're in the time zone, it stacks slower. So, and your debuffs will have time to drop. But if you don't tank them in the time zone, you will just keep getting stacks, and they will just like wreck you once you get enough stacks. But ideally, you want to kill them at some point as well. And the best way to do that is to bring them out to the bloods when they spawn, so that you can AoE them down with the bloods. And when there are so many bloods around, the spell weave effect from hitting the ads and then hitting the big ads will kind of do a ton of damage on them, and a lot of times they will naturally just die with the bloods being AoE down.
Okay.
And that's kind of it,
Awesome.
honestly. Like the Deathwing himself has like a 15, 10, and 5% little like AoE damage thing going on. The 5% one is the most dangerous one. You can use your if you're confident that you won't get any more shrapnels at that point, you can use your little wall during that portion. But honestly, having some vamp bloods spreading on the raid and rallies and whatever else will most likely be enough to deal with that. You see how they use barriers and whatever else right
Hmm.
now to manage it. The rough thing is pretty much just the enrage timer, honestly. So
Okay.
the damage that you do in the first 4 platforms really matter, because once you get to this phase, um, you it'll be a race against the enrage timer. And if you took too long in the other phases, then this will be quite a difficult thing to manage.
As far as difficulty, where would you rank this one for the raid?
Um, I think we took less pulls on this one than on Spine. But our second Spine kill, we felt very, very comfortable in doing. I don't know if we would be as comfortable in going in and doing a second Madness kill. Um, So I'm not sure. I would say that honestly, Madness and Spine is about the same. I might say Spine is slightly harder, but it's definitely either the hardest or the second hardest boss in the tier.
Okay.
Harder than Zon'ozz, if you could believe it.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say too. I forgot to mention pull counts for I think the last few bosses, but Spine we're on like pull 50, had that 1 and 2% wipe, so it's
Mm.
basically like killable right now. So
Yep.
actually fewer pulls than Zon'ozz,
Yep.
interestingly. And then man, Ultraxion I think was probably like 20, 25, somewhere in the 20 to 30 range. I can't say exactly. And then
Yeah.
Blackhorn 20 to 30, I think. So
Okay.
yeah, like decent difficulty. I think like Beth Delac in Firelands was like 30 for us. So around that
Really?
range. Yeah.
Hmm. Felt like Beth Light was a very manageable fight. Um, but then you got Rag sooner than we did, so it's just we pick our battles.
We were saving it for Rag. Rag was, man, I think it was like 100 pulls.
Oh, okay.
That was a
Yeah.
rough one.
Yeah. I don't really know how many we did, but we didn't PTR test Rag, so
Yeah. Overall though, I think like average pull count per boss probably highest we've seen throughout
oh yeah.
classic so far.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I was gonna say this is definitely like difficulty wise the hardest raid we've seen in classic so far. I would say that end boss wise, Zero Lights is still more difficult than either Spine or Madness, I would say. But um, but by and large, yeah, I think the whole as a raid as a whole, I think it's one of the more difficult ones we've seen, and I think a lot of people will struggle to get it down. The last time we were talking about the health of Kata and the health of Classic and how having too hard of a raid might drive people away, and a little bit worried this time around, not gonna lie. It's a good raid, I
Yeah.
think, in my opinion, honestly, especially as a progress raid, but I think a lot of people will just be like, screw it.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised because, like I said, I only did it on like LFR back in the day, and people
Mm,
kept telling me like it's a bad raid and stuff, but I thought it was pretty awesome actually. Uh,
yeah.
I think I like tier 11 more, but I definitely like Dragon Soul
Mm,
way more than Firelands, like 100%, not even close. Uh, but yeah, I mean, also, I think the ICC type buff that's coming in, I think that's huge
mm.
for like keeping people
That's
entertained.
true. That's true. Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
like with ICC, we actually saw the numbers stay like decent despite it being, so long. We had
Yeah,
ICC from October until, May 20th when Gata came out.
yeah.
And
That's
or
true.
actually it was end of September, I think even. I think it was like late September when ICC came out, maybe. So
Yeah, that's forever.
like a big part, and it was like competing with sod being like a new thing at the time too, and like it still
Mm,
kept pretty good numbers, and I think that was largely due to the buff because
yeah,
anybody who was like getting stuck like knew that every 2 weeks or whatever they were getting that buff to like help them get a little further, and
yeah,
I think it'll be good for longevity for sure.
yeah. I think so too. I think the buff is a good thing for sure. Um, I I don't think I agree. Well, okay, so you're talking about tier 11 as well. It was your I guess favorites right here, Kata.
Yeah, I would
Um,
say tier 11's my favorite category too.
Yeah, mine too. But I think Dragon Soul is a more fun progression raid, in my opinion. Tier 11 is fantastic for reclears. Like, I love just pumping big numbers, doing a little bit of parsing um, and having like fights where you actually don't have to do a bunch of cringy mechanics. And when I say cringe mechanics, it's not like I don't want to do mechanics. I'm just talking about stuff like, uh, all the stuff we had in Firelands with hitting legs and jumping up and down with webs and
Dude, so many legs.
standing on
So many
ledges
legs.
and taunting decimation blades and yeah, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, tier 11 was fantastic for that, and I think it will be, in my opinion, my favorite raid tier as well. Because I think that Dragon Soul is a really fun progression raid, but I do think that it will be not a super, super fun reclear raid. Until we get the 30% buffs and you can just have some fun and blast and ignore mechanics completely.
Yes, get wild. Things we can do soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's super late for you. Thank you for doing this. Do you have anything else you want to throw out there before we go?
Let me say this. If any of you watching are familiar with my approach to tanking and some of the perhaps traditionally unorthodox views of what the role of a tank is in Cataclysm, you may think that I'm just like, oh, all right, Riani, how many DPS trinkets are we bringing into Dragon Soul? How many crit meta gems are we using? Surely we're using Girth-like on every boss, right? Uh, I think this time around, when you're doing it on 0%, don't grief your raid. Be a little bit more defensive in your gearing. It's okay. You will get through Prog, and then you can have some fun. There are a time and a place for sure where you would want to orientate towards optimizing your damage, like if you are struggling with the enrage timer on Ultraxion. But for a lot of these fights, yeah, just run the double stam trinket and wherever else, it's fine, guys. It's fine. Oh, I'm already getting roasted in the chat. Oh no. Oh no. Um, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Just play it safe for Brock. Get your guild these kills. Once you guys start, accumulating this gear, getting all the bosses down, then you can prog or parse prog. And also, like the way they did it before was each percent buff that came out for ICC was like a new partition. So
Yeah.
nobody's gonna care about the 0% partition. Like ultimately, if you're a parse person, like everybody's gonna care about the 30% buff partition. That's gonna be the one to actually try for. So yeah, just play it safe, get those kills for your guild, and parse later.
Indeed. Make sure to pick up all of those growth locks and agility rings and whatever else you have to do. And of course, never tank Forset. Of course, again, never ever.
Never.
Let's hope my guild went to bed.
Yeah. That was the real goal. Stretch this out so they all go to bed. Then we can talk about the real shit.
Indeed. Oh no, my officer.
Oh no.
Oh no, Kaisman, go to bed.
Oh no, did you get caught?
Oh, Ucha, no.
Wow, double caught. Crazy.
Crap.
Oh man.
It's 2 a.m., guys. Go to bed.
All right. So make sure you guys check out Riani also. It's Riani TV on Twitch and Riani WoW on YouTube, correct?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're right.
I'll have that linked in the description too. You guys don't need to remember that. Just click the links. But yeah. Anything else you want to like plug before you go?
Well, I think the only plug I think I want to throw out there as well is the Discord. We recent yesterday I think we hit over 1,000 members on the Discord. It's insane.
That's big.
It's probably one of my favorite places to be on the internet with so much good discussion and banter, and freaking the food channel is popping off, and Bloody K is talking about shit and calling each other old off-tank gamers when you don't recommend double DPS trinkets and stuff like that. And of course, it's always where you get like the information first, right? Bits lists and whatever else that's coming out that's exclusive to like coming out there first. And I also will have a written tank guide for like tips to keep in mind for Dragon Soul before progression. That's going to come out there. So definitely, if you're a tank, check out the Discord channel, because that's a good place to be.
That's it. We'll have that Discord linked in the description as well. So look for that.
Sounds good.
Yeah, if you're looking for myself, Subtle FW on Twitch and YouTube. My Discord is also linked in the description. And yeah, thank you for joining us, guys. Another successful tier of Tank Talk. And
the last one for Cataclysm.
Last one for Gata. I'm sure the next one will probably be like a mop, pre-mop, like tank picking kind of thing, just going over all the tanks or something. That definitely gonna be a good time. I know we've both been playing mop P server a bit, and pretty excited.
Pre-alpha? Yeah.
Yes, the pre-alpha.
Yeah.
And definitely excited to get going on that in the later part of this year.
Yeah, I agree. That'll be fun. But first things first, let's knock out this raid, get some loot, and then we can start looking towards the future as we complain about the phase being too long, and the beta not coming out soon enough.
Absolutely. All right. Well, good luck in the race.
Thank you.
Thank you as always for coming and talking, and staying a little bit late too. But
I'm so tired. It's insane.
Yeah, go get some sleep. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Cheers.